So before we start today's session, we have an important announcement to make. With a heavy heart, would like to communicate to those who are listening to this session that the sister of Dr. Nand Pran Das Prabhu, Sangeeta Pudar, she has passed away due to COVID. So we are dedicating this Bhagavatam Katha, this session to her sister Sangeeta Pudar. So keep her in your prayers as you hear this Katha. So, so we'd like to start the today's Katha. So again, we'd like to first thank everyone for joining day 4 of Srimad Bhagavatam Katha. Our sincere thanks to we are dedicating this Satchidananda. I think the live stream is also. So our sincere thanks to Satchidananda Das Prabhu, who has been giving us such a detailed and deep explanation on the introduction of Srimad Bhagavatam over the last 3 sessions. So in day 4 of the Katha, Prabhuji shared with us the 2 important delineations in the practice of Bhakti, which is Vaidhi Bhakti and the Raganuga Bhakti. In Vaidhi Bhakti, one diligently performs the duties such as waking up early in the morning, performing Mangala Arati, practicing the regulative principles such as no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. Also, the sincere Vaidhi Bhakti engages in satsang, harinam, reading and listening to the scriptures such as Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Such practices make the environment conducive for the practice of bhakti and helps one become a Goswami from Godas. So as Prabhuji also mentioned, Raganuga Bhakti is that devotion in which one is filled with the abundant natural love for the Supreme Lord. This love is splendidly manifested in the eternal residence of Vraj. So a pure devotee will ultimately develop Raganuga Bhakti. Also, one of the profound lessons from the last discourse where Prabhuji mentioned where one should cultivate the habit of praying, just like the exalted devotees such as Prahlad Maharaj. So pure devotee doesn't pray for any material profit, but is always hankering to serve the Supreme Lord. A prayer of a pure devotee is like, "Oh Lord, if I should be born again, let me have the complete attachment to Shri Krishna in association of the pure devotees." So let us advance our spiritual journey further and request Prabhuji, His Grace Satchidananda Das Prabhu, to commence today's session on verse 1.1.1 Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. आराध्यो भगवान व्रजेश तनयस तद्धाम वृंदावनम रम्या काचिदुपासना व्रज वधुवर्गे न तया कल्पिता श्रीमद् भागवत पुराण यमलम प्रेम पुमर्थो महान श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभोर्मत इदम ना यत्र आग्रह परः ना यत्र आग्रह परः ना यत्र आग्रह परः नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयौदीरये शृण्वन्ता स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनम् हृदयन्तस्तभद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सताम् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी निगमकल्पतरो गलितं फलं सुखमुखाद्रवमृतं संयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिक भुवि भावुका ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय 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 ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna. My Danvat pranams, millions and millions of Danvat pranams to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, to our Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya Acharya Guru Vargs, to all the Rasik Vaishnavas, and to all the assembled devotees. May the words of this Srimad Bhagavatam be resplendent within our hearts so that we can understand what pure bhakti is. And my obeisances, my Danvat pranams to all the devotees who are present, all the senior Vaishnavas that are present here, and I seek the blessings so that whatever words emanate from my mouth are pleasing to our acharyas, perfect in the parampara as it is, and it is pleasing to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, pleasing to Nityananda Prabhu, pleasing to all the Gauru Bhakta Vrindas, and may it please Sri Krishna Nanda Nandana and give special pleasure to Raseshwari Radharani. Hare Krishna. So today is Sunday, August 23rd, 2020, and we will make an attempt to dive into the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto. Srimad Bhagavatam, as most of you all may be knowing, is divided into 12 skandhas or 12 cantos. And they deal with the wonderful different pastimes of the Lord's creation, the Lord's avatars, the Lord's leelas, along with his very, very dear devotees. So I invite all of you to serve Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam should be served. It is not some ordinary literature or some ordinary scripture that will deliver us with that will give us material benefit. The benefit that we derive from serving Srimad Bhagavatam is unfathomable. And today we will start with the Mangalacharan, or chronologically speaking, it is the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is called the Mangalacharan because before starting the Srimad Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva, who compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam, or rather remanifested the Srimad Bhagavatam, he quotes this verse as an auspicious verse before he actually writes the Srimad Bhagavatam, manifests the Srimad Bhagavatam, and therefore it is called the Mangalacharan. Also, as mentioned by Asim Kar Prabhuji, my dear friend Dr. Nanpran Das Prabhu, who resides in Sri Vrindavan Dham, he is a very regular attendee of all the programs. Although it is very early in the morning in India, he never fails to attend the programs. And about 5 days ago, his sister, Mrs. Sangeeta Poddar, left her body due to COVID. And he requested that if we can dedicate this Srimad Bhagavatam Katha, today's Katha, for her eternal spiritual benefit. So indeed, it is our service when a devotee with such a good heart requests that. This is a very, very nice thing about our Vedic culture, that our Vedic culture is so sublime and so scientific that whatever austerities we perform, or whatever piety we perform, or even whatever spiritual acts we perform, we can always dedicate the results to someone else. Because it is so scientific, if we think about it for a moment, the Supreme Lord is situated in everybody's heart as the Paramatma. And when we sincerely pray or dedicate something, although that person may not be with us, that person may be thousands of miles away, or that person may have left this world, the present body, but the journey always continues. And the Supreme Lord is so kind, He's Surut Sarva Bhutanam. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned that He says, Bhoktaram Sarva Yajna Tapasyam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. Surut Sarva Bhutanam Gyatva Mam Shanti Richati. He is the eternal benefactor of mankind, or every living entity, not only mankind. I stand corrected. Of every living entity. He is Surut Sarva Bhutanam, of all the jivas. And therefore, he is so kind that he travels with us in whatever journey, in whatever body, in the 8,400,000 species of life based on our karma that we may take birth in as Paramatma. He is constantly a eternal companion of the Atma. And when a sincere soul feels, thinks, wills, desires, he is so close that he notes it. And that message can be conveyed to another jiva or for the benefit of another jiva. So that is the heart of Vaishnavas. I request all of you, all the listeners, whenever you get a chance, please keep her in your prayers and dedicate today's Srimad Bhagavatam for her eternal benefit. I personally thank you, and I'm sure Dr. Nandpran Das Prabhu will also do the same for the kindness that all the devotees are willing to dedicate this Srimad Bhagavatam Katha. So, as I was mentioning, last 3 Sundays we glorified Srimad Bhagavatam through its introduction. And very briefly, I will before starting the first verse of the Mangalacharan, I will try to remind all the devotees about the introduction, some important points. Hearing of the, like Asimkar Prabhu very nicely mentioned, that one should hear Srimad Bhagavatam from the right source, from a perfect source. It's very important that, and one must be careful to hear the message from Bhagavat. So we are very fortunate. We are hearing this Srimad Bhagavatam because of Srila Prabhupada's Vani, his books. Srila Prabhupada painstakingly, with a lot of effort, he translated each and every verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, every word. Srimad Bhagavatam consists of, as I mentioned, 12 cantos, and it has got 18,000 verses. 18,000 verses. And to translate each and every word and then translate the entire shloka and then give a purport or a tika or the explanation of every verse. This is something that only an empowered soul can do that. And therefore, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada is known as the Shakti Avesh Avatar. He is known as the Shakti Avesh Avatar. And I will be discussing the different avatars very briefly, perhaps in this session itself. That way we can get an idea about who the Supreme Lord Krishna is. So we are eternally very, very grateful to His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada for giving us this sublime Srimad Bhagavatam on a platter, if I would say so. Just like a loving father or a mother can bring to us in a very, very nice plate, a full plate of prasadam, lunch or dinner. We don't have to do anything. We simply have to sit down and eat. And all the work has been done by the loving mother. So similarly, our spiritual grandfather, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, has given us this. And not only Srimad Bhagavatam, he actually translated over 100 different Vedic books that are of pure bhakti, that are related to Nandanandan Krishna, Yashodanandan Krishna, to uh, that component of theism which is considered the source of everything. And again, we will be discussing that in today's verse. So without further ado, I just wanted to touch on a little bit of what we heard last time, or what we discussed. So actually, Srimad Bhagavatam was brought by Narad Muni from the spiritual world to Vyasadeva. And if you all remember, Vyasadeva was completely morose. He was very sad, sitting in Badrikashram, thinking that I have compiled all these Vedas, Upanishads, and so many auxiliary Vedic literatures. But in spite of that, I'm not very happy. I'm not very fully satisfied. And at that time, his Gurudev, his Divine Grace, Srila Naradji, appears. And Naradji actually gives Vyasadeva some sublime instructions, and especially the most important instructions that he gives us, that in the Vedas, Naradji, you have Vyasadeva, Naradji says, Vyasadeva, you have compiled uh, all the four Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kam, and Moksha, very elaborately. And you have mentioned something about some instances in some places you have mentioned about bhakti, but you have also mentioned about many other different things, including Gyan and Karma and so many other paths that you have explained in the Vedas. You have also put together in the Vedas many different pastimes of many different demigods and etc. But the you have not sufficiently described or narrated the pastimes uh, that are exclusively that glorify Sri Krishna, which is the Pancham Purushartha, the fifth one, which is beyond liberation, which is beyond Dharma, Artha, Kam, and Moksha. Because naturally the people uh, in in this material world are uh, inclined for enjoyment, and when they are inclined for enjoyment, uh, because of this age of Kali, where people are quarreling, it's deteriorated, religion is also uh, diminishing, and people have become faithless. So they are using the Vedas for their personal benefit, for material benefit, and and that is not sufficient in itself. So this message that Vyasadeva was given, you should actually compile. You have to make an extensive endeavor in this, and to give pure bhakti, because in this world people are inclined towards sense gratification and sense enjoyment, and like that, Naraji gives this Srimad Bhagavatam, imparts it into the heart of Vyasadeva, which he brought from the spiritual world. Srimad Bhagavatam is eternal. We should understand that it is not something that is ordinary scripture that was written a few thousand years ago or a few million years ago. It is a timeless scripture, but it is manifest again and again based on the time and need. And according to time sometimes what happens in the material world, it deteriorates things. People and places and things, they deteriorate in memory, they forget. And for that is the same reason why even Krishna explains to Arjun that Bhagavad Gita is not the first time I'm speaking to you, Arjun, on this battlefield of Kurukshetra. I've actually spoken this to millions of years ago to the sun god Vivaswan, and then Vivaswan spoke it to his son Ikshvaku, and Ikshvaku spoke this science of the Bhagavad Gita to Manu, and like that it came down in disciplic succession. But yogam nashta param tapaha, based because of the time factor, this yoga of Bhagavad Gita got destroyed due to the time factor. And because you are my dear friend, I'm speaking to this science of Bhagavad Gita again. So like that, similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam also is actually Sri Krishna. We have to understand Krishna, Krishna's pastimes or Krishna's Leela, Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's dham, they are non-different from Krishna. It is very difficult to understand this or what to talk about the realization, but at least we should have that information when we are chanting the holy names Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That is actually we are associating with Krishna, but not only with Krishna, with Radharani, and also with all the pure devotees and the associates of Lord Krishna. We are associating with Vrajvasis. That's what the word Hara means in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We are calling out to them so that we can be engaged in their eternal service. So, by the way, this coming Tuesday is the appearance of Krishna's beloved Srimati Radharani. So Radharani ki jai. So Radha Ashtami is this coming Tuesday. Uh, I wish all of you a very blissful Radha Ashtami, and may Radharani bless us with pure bhakti, and that will be pleasing to her very intimate associates like Rupa Goswami, like Sanatan Goswami, like the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, Bhaktivinoda Thakurji, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Srila Prabhupada. All these great acharyas in the Gaudiya line, they are very, very dear servitors of Radharani. So I wish all of you all in advance a wonderful, blissful Radha Ashtami. So, anyways, so like this, Naraji had told Vyasdev that whatever you desire to describe that is in separate in vision from the Lord simply reacts with the different forms and names to agitate the mind. And as the wind agitates a boat, which is no resting place. So in the Vedas, that's what people are seeing. The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them. And he uses the word jugupsitam. It is abominable. Vyasdev, you need to compile something that is pure. You have encouraged them in such a way that in the name of religion, uh, you like dharma, artha, kam, and moksha. In the name of religion, people are simply using it for their personal sense gratification, and they're using it for their personal material benefit. So, because they are guided under your instructions, O Vyas, they will accept such activities in the name of religion and will hardly care for any prohibitions. So Naradji went on to describe Srimad Bhagavatam, and hearing it from realized souls who are devoid of any self-interest. Very, very important. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada perfectly represents the parampara of pure devotees because very selfless. He was not interested in getting any money from us or any kind of uh, remuneration for his katha or all the labor that he did. He did it out of pure love, out of pure compassion for the jivas, for the love of Radharani, for the love of Krishna. When that is why he's Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale. He came to Bhutal, he came to this planet Earth. From where? From Golok Vrindavan, leaving the association of Radha and Krishna, the direct association with all those Golokvasis, and he came to deliver people like us. So we are so fortunate, and that's exactly that, and that's what Naradji also has the same bhav. He is also having the same bhav that yes, Vyasdev, you've done a wonderful job, but there is something very important missing, and people are going to misunderstand your Vedas and they will use it to a disadvantage. And he informed him that by taking shelter of bhakti, devotion to Sri Krishna, he would be able to describe Krishna's sweet pastimes. So he blessed his Sishya, he blessed his disciple, Vyasdev, please, do that and compile, or rather re-manifest Srimad Bhagavatam. And then Vyasdev, he took shelter of his spiritual master Naradji, and by his mercy, he was able to recompose Srimad Bhagavatam, that very essence of the Vedic literature, with the blissful pastimes of the Supreme Lord. With a pure heart, Sri Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas. His name is Krishna Dvaipayan, but he's known as Vyasa, as I explained. Vyas means one who expounds, one who explains in detail. And so that person, anybody who is seated on a speaking katha, is generally known as that place is known as Vyas Peet. Vyas means to expound. So that's just like Srila Prabhupada is known as Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Actually, his name is Swami Maharaj, his official sannyas name, but he's known as Prabhupada. So Prabhupada is a term of high respect and endearment. One who has completely surrendered to the lotus feet of Krishna is known as Prabhupada. Who thinks, feels always for the pleasure of Krishna, that personality is known as Prabhupada. So there are many Prabhupadas, Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, Sanatan Goswami Prabhupada, Jiva Goswami Prabhupada. All our acharyas are those who are in that perfect line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Prabhu, they are called Prabhupada. So similarly, Vyasdev, he's known as Vyasdev because he expounds in the form of katha. the Vedas and all the explanations, but his actual name is Krishna Dvaipayan, because he was born on an island. He's Dvaipayan, and his name was Sri Krishna. And actually he is an incarnation of Mahavishnu. So we will also briefly describe further when we study Srimad Bhagavatam, the avatars and the different incarnations of the Supreme Lord are explained very nicely in the Srimad Bhagavatam also. So, like this, the Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled, and then we also very briefly understood from the how Srimad Bhagavatam actually, although it was kind of remanifest by Vyasadeva or written by Vyasadeva, how did it actually appear to the world? And it appeared through his son Sukdev Goswami, uh, and and through Parikshit Maharaj. And we explained last time the brief history of Srimad Bhagavatam, that how uncharacteristically a great devotee like Parikshit Maharaj became upset, he became angry, and while he was hunting, due to thirst and hunger, he arrived at the ashram of Shringi of Shamik Rishi, and Shamik Rishi was in trance in meditation, and at that time when he asked for water, he could not get the attention of Shamik Rishi, and in spite of trying a few more times, Shamik Rishi did not apparently happen to hear him, obviously because he was in trance. And at that time, seeing a dead snake on the ground, while still seated on his horse, Parikshit Maharaj picked up the dead snake and garlanded the Rishi. One of the friends of the Rishi's boy, Shringi, saw that, and he immediately went to where all the other boys were playing, including Shringi. Shringi is Shamik Rishi's son, and he said, Shringi, Shringi, do you know what happened? The Emperor Parikshit, Maharaj Parikshit, he was just there by your father's hut, and your father and he garlanded your father with a dead snake. And hearing that, Shringi burned in anger, and because him being a pure son of a pure Brahmin with all the Brahminical qualities, although a very, very young boy, he had all good powers, and he immediately did a sankalp, took some water in his right hand, and he said that iti langati maryadam takshara saptame ahani dakshanti sma kulagaram chodito me tata druham. On the seventh day from today, a snake bird known as Takshaka will bite the most wretched one of the dynasty, meaning Maharaj Parikshit will bite Maharaj Parikshit because he has broken the laws and the etiquette by insulting my father, by garlanding him with a dead snake. So we will further learn about the details of this wonderful history in the first canto, 18th chapter of how Parikshit Maharaj, and then the news spread like wildfire all over the world. As a matter of fact, this whole entire world was known as Bharatvarsha. And when Parikshit Maharaj heard about the curse, he actually, in one sense, he was actually repentant when he went home, and he said, "Why did I behave like this?" And he was thinking like that, and upon hearing the curse, Maharaj Parikshit, he lamented and at this behavior. And although the entire event had taken place by Lord Krishna's desire, so that Srimad Bhagavat will be manifest to the whole world, Maharaj Parikshit blamed himself. He was repenting and lamented his behavior of insulting the rishi, and he desired an immediate reaction so that he would never again be influenced by such inauspicious activities. And it was in that state of lamentation that Maharaj Parikshit heard of his imminent death, that was spread all over the world, that he was cursed by the Brahmin boy Shringi. So he then sat on the bank of the Ganga and absorbed his mind solely in Sri Krishna. It was not by chance that at that same time a multitude of great munis, rishis, devotees, saintly personalities, those who contemplate on the absolute truth, arrived at that place with their disciples. We're talking about over 60,000 rishis. And Maharaj Parikshit nicely asked them questions. He asked them, "O Brahmins, O rishis, just accept me as a completely surrendered soul. And let Mother Ganga be a witness that as a representative of the Lord. Also accept me in that way, for I have already taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Let that snake bird, I have been cursed that a snake bird by the name Takshak will come and bite me and will be the cause of my death. I only desire that you all continue singing the deeds of Lord Vishnu, offering obeisances unto all those Brahmins, offering them respects. He praise and this wonderful prayer which Ashimkar Prabhu very nicely recollected. I'm very, very happy that you could, because this is a wonderful prayer that I personally like. And I hope one day that prayer can really become a part of my life after life after life. He says, Punascha bhuyat bhagavati anante rati prasangaschas cha tad ashrayeshu Mhadasu yam yam upayanti srishtim maitri astu sarvatra nam dvijebhya. O Brahmins, I pray that if I should be born again and if I take birth again in this material world, I will have complete attachment to the unlimited Lord Sri Krishna in the association of his devotees. Very important point. What a wonderful prayer. Very, very touching. This is how we should actually pray when we are standing in front of the Lord. That, my dear Lord, my karma may be so bad that I may have behaved like an animal throughout my life, and next life I may not even become a human being. Like Bhaktivedanta Thakur I had quoted in the last introduction, he mentions in one of his wonderful bhajans of Sharanagati, in the bhajan Manasa Deha Geha Jo Kichumor Arpilu Tua Pade Nanda Kishore. In that he says that Kita Janma Hoilo Ja Yatha Tua Das Bahirmukha Brahma Janma Nahi More As. He says, even if I don't deserve to be a human being, Kita Janma, and I get the birth of an insect, Janma Hoja, but I request you, O Krishna, that janam or that birth happen in your devotee's house. Yatha Tua Das. Tua Das means your servant. Your servant means a devotee. So Yatha Tua Das Bahirmukha Brahma Janma Nahi More As. And just by simply getting the opulence even that Lord Brahma has in the sixth heaven, which is Brahma Loka, it's full of opulence. But if I don't get your bhakti, and if I'm going to be Bahirmukha, Bahirmukha means turning my face away from Krishna. That is called Bahirmukha. We have to become Sanmukha. We have to turn our face towards Krishna. We have to cultivate Krishna consciousness. So he says that even if I get that opulence, we're talking about the opulences of this world, where we hear about so many wonderful countries like United States and Canada. They've got all that Western Vaibhav with so much money. Nobody actually is hungry. Everybody has a car. Everybody has a house. Everybody has a place to stay. Compared to a lot of other countries, there's so much opulence here. But this opulence is nothing compared to the opulence in the Swarga planets. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, even if somebody offers me those opulences, but if I am Bahirmukha, Brahma Janma Nahi More As, I do not want that. So this is the prayer of Parikshit Maharaj. This is the prayer of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Like this, we had actually explained about the introduction, and like this, he sits down and he asks the sages, please, tell me, turning to all the sages, O Brahmins, I now ask you about my immediate duty. What is the duty of a person who is about to die, specifically when time is just about to finish up? And at that very moment, the most powerful sage had arrived at that place. He was the son of Vyasdev. Bolo Sukhdev Goswami Pad Ki Jai. Sukhdev Goswami, he was only 16 years, and by seeing the astounding features, the sages who are expert in the art of physiognomy. Physiognomy means when one sees the bodily features, one can tell that this is a great personality. Like even Prabhupada had perfect physiognomy. His hands were all the way touching, although he was by common standards a short person by stature, but his hands touched his knees. He had big ears. He had a very long forehead. So all these are just like Gaur Nitai. Ajanu lambita bhujau kanakayo dhato sankirtanai pitaro kamalayo taksho vishwambaro dijavaro yuga dharma palo Vande Jagat Priya Karo Karuna Avatar. Vrindavan Das Thakur in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, in the Mangalacharan, he writes this verse that Ajanu Lambita Bhujo, the hands of Nitai Gaur, Nityananda Prabhu so elongated that they could touch the knees. So this is what is known as physiognomy. Through physiognomy, we can understand. So all these great learned rishis, they could understand that Sukadeva Goswami, although just a 16-year-old, a teenager boy, but he was a very, very exalted personality. And they understood that he had a very high spiritual status, and they immediately offered him respect by rising from their seats. And then Sukadeva Goswami sat before the king, and with his charming effulgence, pacifying all present, and Maharaj Parikshit requested him, Ata prichami samsiddhim yogi nam paramam gurum purushaya eha yat karyam Mriyam Manasya Sarvatha. You are the spiritual master of great saints and devotees, O Sukadeva Goswami. I am therefore begging you to show the way of perfection for all persons, and especially for one who is about to die. Yashrotavyam atho japyam yat kartavyam nirbi prabho smartavyam bhajanayam va bruhi yad va vipranaya. Please let me know what a man should hear, what he should chant, what he should remember and worship, and also what he should not do. Please explain all this to me. And Sukadeva Goswami acknowledged the glory of the emperor's question and its benefits to all the people. Questions should be asked in such a way that everybody else can benefit. Sometimes people waste the speaker's time by asking frivolous questions, asking egoistic questions, asking questions that have no meaning or no logic, without any proper etiquette or without any submissiveness. Krishna says one should ask questions. There's nothing wrong. Krishna but has specified the criteria in the Bhagavad Gita. What is that criteria? Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadakshanti jnanina tattva darshana. One should ask questions, tad vidhi pranipatena, with a lot of humility. Pariprashnena sevaya, ask questions, but serve that person who you are asking questions. At least have that attitude of service. And one who has seen the truth will be able to impart the truth. Truth is imparted, bhakti is imparted. It is not cannot be studied in school, colleges, or universities, not by conducting classes that are of university or college style, where you have a curriculum and you have like a syllabus and then you finish it and you give certificates. I personally don't agree with that kind of a system. There are people who do that to give encouragement, but at the end of the day, the element of bhakti is left out. And if we don't have that element of bhakti, the whole idea is Vasudeva Paraveda, Vasudeva Paramaka, Vasudeva Param Jnanam, Vasudeva Param Tapaha, Vasudeva Parakriyaha, Vasudeva Param Tapaha, Vasudeva Paro Dharmo, Vasudeva Paragatihi. So Vasudeva Param Jnanam. If we cannot cultivate knowledge that does not result in bhakti of Vasudeva or Krishna, then that gyan or that knowledge is useless in one sense, because that will keep us in this material world. Puna puna janam, puna puna janam, puna puna maranam, janani jathare shayanam. Again and again we will be born, again and again in this samsara, in this material world, into different mothers, janani jathare shayanam, in different species of life. So that knowledge that we have to cultivate, that knowledge should be basically of bhakti. That knowledge should lead to bhakti. So that is why we have to understand that books like Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita should never take that university or material corporate type of continuing education programs or those kind of attitudes. Otherwise, Krishna reserves the right. I've explained that, and again I intend to kind of bring home this very important point, that do not. Some people say, "Oh, we finished the entire Bhagavad Gita in 2 years." Well, congratulations! I can clap for you. Thank you. But does that mean that you have developed love for Sri Krishna? Does that mean you have developed love and understanding of Golok Vrindavan and the Vrajvasis? Does that mean that you have really loved your love has developed for Srila Prabhupada and the Vaishnava Acharyas? If that is developed, then wonderful. Then your result of learning the entire Bhagavad Gita is good. But those who have not even understood the Bhagavad Gita and you just simply finish it, then the point is that it is just simply an exercise. Like one time, Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he went to the South Indian Padayatra tour, he went to one of the South Indian temples, and there he saw one Brahmin holding the Bhagavad Gita upside down. And then Mahaprabhu, observing that, he says that Vipra, oh Brahman, you are reading Bhagavad Gita, you are holding it upside. He says, yes. He says, my Guru Maharaj told me to read Bhagavad Gita, but I am illiterate. But I am trying to follow his instructions. That is why I am holding the Bhagavad Gita. But then Mahaprabhu asked him one more question. He says, but I see that some tears are flowing from your eyes, and what is it that he says, yes, you know what, in this Bhagavad Gita I see one nice picture where Krishna is actually the driver of Arjun, and he's serving Arjun so nicely that even the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, he is doing menial service for his devotee. How great he is, how wonderful he is, how such a opulent personality, due to the love that he has for Arjun, his Sakha, he is willing to do all this. And Mahaprabhu said, Brahman, you have understood Bhagavad Gita perfectly. You have understood Bhagavad Gita. What you're saying is your sense of the understood. So we have to become Saragrahi Vaishnavas. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also says the same thing. Become a Saragrahi Vaishnava. Sar means the essence, and Graha means to accept. We may not know all the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam or the 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita by heart. There are so many people who recite that every day. There are people who do that, but their hearts are hard-hearted. They have never understood the message of pure bhakti. They have never understood who Mahaprabhu is. They have never understood all of that. So all that scholarship is useless. And some of them, they even go further by saying that there is no Krishna. All this is just the product of imagination. They are Mayavads. So they also study Bhagavad Gita. Big names. I do not want to mention them, but they have, big names, and they are all Mayavads. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Mayavad Krishna Pradhi. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Prabhupada's Gurudev used to tell the Mayavadis when they saw them, why are you trying to kill Krishna? He is a person. He is a supreme Lord. And you are saying that you are God, you are a supreme Lord, you are one with him, Soham, Satchidananda Rupam, Shivoham. What kind of interpretation of the Vedas is that? So this is where we try to again and again, because Srimad Bhagavatam is not a joke. It is only meant, as we will see in the next verse after we finish this one, that what are the warnings Srimad Bhagavatam is giving before we even go into Srimad Bhagavatam. So, like this, Sukadeva Goswami was acknowledged by everyone, and then he sat down, and Parikshit Maharaj asked these questions to him, and like this, Srimad Bhagavatam was after 7 days. Srimad Bhagavatam commenced the speaking, and after hearing 7 days and continuously Srimad Bhagavatam without any food or water, and the snake bird manifested as it was ordained by the Brahmin boy's curse, and it bit Parikshit Maharaj. It's not that he did not, that by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, death did not come to Parikshit Maharaj. Indeed it came, but however, because he had heard Srimad Bhagavatam from a pure-hearted saint, Maharaj Parikshit had by then absorbed his consciousness in the spiritual realm, and thus he had already left this world. So it is how you die is important. We all have to die. That is as certain, but it is how you die. Krishna tells us in the Bhagavad Gita, Yam yam vapi smaranam bhavam tajeti ante kalavaram. Whatever your consciousness is at the time of death will take you to your next body. It will bring you to the next journey of your existence. So it is how we die is the most important thing. Even Srila Prabhupada, when he left his body, he was supposed to go to London in 1977 in the summer of, because he was so busy everywhere. He traveled the globe about 12 to 13 times, and he used to stop by in many countries just for 2 days, in one city for 1 day. And he used to constantly travel and translate Srimad Bhagavatam. He used to sleep only an hour and a half. All the time he was either speaking, he was guiding the devotees in Krishna consciousness, establishing new temples, and giving bhakti to everyone and interacting with so many different people from all walks of life, scientists, priests, popes, bishops, all over the world, and preaching Krishna consciousness with wholeheartedness. And Srila Prabhupada, during that mission, suddenly on the way to Delhi to the airport, he says, I want to go back to Vrindavan. And then he came back to Vrindavan. And the last few months, he said that that's it, and this is my desire, I will leave. And in the month of Kartik, which is considered the month of Radharani, the most auspicious month amongst all the 12 months in Sri Vrindavan Dham, Srila Prabhupada, while speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, he left his body. So that is called the final lesson. That particular incident has been. If you go on YouTube, and in the YouTube search, you can just Google. You put the keywords "the final lesson," and you will see a clip of Srila Prabhupada how he left his body. So that was the final lesson. Final lesson means all throughout his life he explained Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and so many other important messages of the Vedic scripture, that you are not this body. Just try to understand you are a spirit soul. And at the time of death, your success of the human life is if you are able to remember Sri Krishna at the time of death. So speaking one thing and practically showing it, that was the final lesson. And very aptly, his disciples named that the final lesson. That when Prabhupada, how to even leave the body, Prabhupada taught all these disciples how to put tilak, how to put dhoti. They did not even know how to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra on the beads. And Prabhupada taught everything, right from making chapatis to rasgullas to rice and dal, make offerings to Krishna, the bhoga, all those things, Srila Prabhupada, including how to buy cement and bricks to build the temple and how not to get cheated with the contractors. Everything Srila Prabhupada taught. And at the same time, he taught the topmost, highest, sublime philosophy, the pure bhakti he gave. And through Srimad Bhagavatam, the biggest contribution that Srila Prabhupada has given. And at the end, when he was ready to leave, go back to join Krishna in his eternal pastimes. That is why when we say the Jai Dhvani of a great Acharya, we say Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupat Paramansa Parivajagacharya Ashtottara Shraddha Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Abhay Ravinda Das Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So the first two words that are being used is Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. What does that mean? Nitya Lila Pravishta Om means the eternal, one who has entered the eternal pastimes of Krishna. Nitya Lila Pravishta. Pravishta means to enter. Nitya means eternal. And Lila means the pastimes. So one who has entered the pastimes. So whenever a sadhu or a great personality leaves, he says, he is Nitya Lila Pravishta. He has entered the eternal pastimes of Sri Krishna. So similarly, Sukadeva Goswami entered the eternal pastimes of Sri Krishna by simply hearing, by the process of Shravanam, which is so important. And among the assembled to hear Sukadeva Goswami's narration was one great personality by the name of Suta Goswami. Later in the sacred forest of Naimisharanya, the powerful sages gathered. Over 60,000 rishis again had gathered to perform a big sacrifice, a yajna, that was going to last for 1,000 years because Kali Yuga had just onset. And for the benefit that Kali Yuga will not deteriorate, they wanted to do a huge yajna in Naimisharanya. And in this setting, Srila Suta Goswami narrated Srimad Bhagavatam. Suta Goswami himself was established on the throne, on the Vyasasan by Balram Prabhu when he was traveling. And the best of the scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam, was spoken by Suta Goswami. So Srimad Bhagavatam, the first speaking in the introduction, if you all remember, it was Lord Shiva who spoke to Mother Parvati. And the second speaking of the Srimad Bhagavatam is Sukadeva Goswami speaking to Parikshit Maharaj. And the third speaking of the Srimad Bhagavatam in the recent millennium I'm talking about. Otherwise, Srimad Bhagavatam is eternally being spoken. But I'm talking about the most recent yuga or millennium. And the third speaking was Suta Goswami, the son of Roma Harshan Rishi. And he was established on the Vyasdev, and all the sadhus and the saints in the third sitting in Naimisharanya said, "O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. Nigama kalpataro galitam phalam shukhamukhat dravam mrutam samvitam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalaya Muro Rasika Bhuvi Bhavuka. This has emanated from the lips of Sukadeva Goswami, and therefore this fruit has become even more tasteful. So Sutta Goswami is glorifying the previous speaker of Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami, that because Srimad Bhagavatam emanated from his lips, it became even more sweeter. And therefore this fruit of the tree of the Vedic literatures, Srimad Bhagavatam, the ripened fruit, is very tasteful. And although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, it is also relishable for the liberated souls. So Srimad Bhagavatams, this was again very important because I see there are a few new devotees who have joined. So I thought I will kind of, touch on this um, on this introduction itself. Now, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the very first verse, it says, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vyasdev starts with the invocation, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. What does that mean? So Om is the sound vibration where Krishna says even in the Bhagavad Gita that I am represented in the sound vibration by the word Om. So Om, a lot of people chant Om not knowing the actual root of Om. Om is the sound vibration that actually is representing Sri Krishna. And Om Namo, Namo means I'm offering my Danvat pranams. Bhagavate, unto that personality. There are many personalities of Godhead. Like Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Ananta Rupam. Advaitam, he is infallible. Advaitam, Achyutam, he is in. Advait means there is nobody who is equal to him or second to him. Achyut means he is infallible. Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim. He is the one who is the Anadi. There is no beginning before him. He is the beginner of everything. Anadim, Ananta Rupam. He has got many, many forms. So, he's offering his obeisances to Bhagavate, to that personality among so many personalities of Godhead. Is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudev is the son of Vasudev. The son of Vasudev is known as Vasudev Krishna. So he's offering his obeisances. Now Vasudev Krishna and Nandan Krishna are non-different in one sense, and there also there is a difference, but due to there is so much packed in this first verse that even I have very limited knowledge based on the Rasik Acharya's explanations. I will try to recollect what I have read and what I have heard, but it is like an ocean, just the very first verse. Just the very first verse as the Mangalacharan. So Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Here Vyasdev is offering obeisances to Vasudev Krishna because perhaps the reason being that Vasudev Krishna is the source of all the spiritual and material words through Baldev Prabhu. And again, I will explain that in a little bit how that creation happens in a very, very brief way. I will explain. One day when the opportunity arises and if devotees are interested, I have made a PowerPoint presentation which probably will last about a good 3 to 4 hours to give a basic understanding of the fundamentals of the entire creation. Because I have been giving lectures on this subject matter, but it has been very difficult sometimes for the audience to grasp all the details, and sometimes it can become very, very overwhelming or sometimes even boring. So please bear with me. Ultimately, the whole thing is that we are singing the glories of Sri Krishna and knowing the opulence of Sri Krishna, that Krishna, you are so great. Here he remembers Krishna's opulence as the son of Vasudev, known as Vasudev Krishna. And very soon you all will understand, in one sense, why Vyasadeva starts with that Vasudev Krishna. And I have explained even during the Janmashtami lectures that there are two types of Krishnas. There is Vasudev Krishna and there is Nandan Krishna. But here Vyasadeva is offering his obeisance to Vasudev Krishna first, because by the mercy of, in a nutshell, by the mercy of Vasudev Krishna, one will get the mercy of Nandan Krishna. So therefore, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It is the opulence that people get attracted to. Bhagavad Gita, for example, is spoken. It is spoken by who? It is spoken by Vasudev Krishna. It is not spoken by Nandan Krishna. And again, this may sound very confusing, but when the time comes, and I will explain those details. I have already explained that in the Janmashtami, the 3 different lectures that we did on last time when 2 weeks ago, when Janmashtami celebration was there. So we had 3 lectures, and we explained based on the secret explanations of our acharyas, of the Gaudiya acharyas, that even Srila Prabhupada, those who are familiar with that bhajan, Bhajahu Re Mana Shri Nanda Nandana Abhay Charna Ravindare. So Prabhupada is giving a commentary on that bhajan, said that, my dear mind, please worship the son of Nanda Maharaj, Nanda Nandan. There are many types of Krishna, but we are only concerned with the son of Nanda Maharaj. So that gives a very good insight into who we are as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, who we are interested. There are many types of Krishna, but and at the same time, we don't mean to say that we should not respect Vasudev Krishna. They are all the same. Actually speaking, the delineations are like, it's like, sometimes it's like somebody has a son. I can give you a very simple example. The son is a grown-up son, and he goes to office in the morning. He wears his tie and suit, and he's suited and booted, and he is being chauffeured, driven to his Fortune 500 CEO job. And then that is the son leaving the house in the morning. At the breakfast table, he has a cup of coffee or tea with the father, and then when he comes back home, he is wearing pajamas and kurta, and he's joking with his father, and they're playing with his son or the grandson. So it is the same person. It is the same person, but performing a different role. So similarly, we have to understand that Rajendra Nandan Krishna, Nanda Nandan Krishna, has so much to contribute, because he's the source of everything. He has meticulously given a portfolio to his different forms and to his avatars, and Vasudeva Krishna being one of them. So as I was saying, opulence is something that people are always attracted to. Bhagavad Gita is full of opulence. Like, Arjun also, unless Arjun was shown that Virat Rup, the universal form of Krishna, he now took him very seriously. Oh, you're that Krishna. From everything is emanating. I see thousands and thousands of demigods, and fire and flame, and the earth and the planets and the Brahmans, and everything is emanating from you. So that Vaibhav, or that awe, he's awestruck. So now he's taking the instructions of the Supreme Lord very seriously, because previously he was thinking that this is my friend. He's my Bua's son. He's Kunti Bua's son. So familiarity kind of breeds contempt. So there is in a subtle way, in the philosophy, there is a certain element where, when we are given instruction by a friend that we see every day, or by even our own parents or well-wishers that we are meeting every day, that doesn't have much value. But we are ready to pay $1,000 to go see a consultant to hear the same thing, or the same message in a different bottle. This is today's world. So in one sense, people first get attracted. Chamatkar ko namaskar. It is the opulence that people get attracted to. So that is why even Prabhupada preached the Bhagavad Gita first. Bhagavad Gita is more or less an opulence of Sri Krishna. It is a biodata of Sri Krishna that gives us the opulence of Sri Krishna. Oh, how great he is, the supreme personality of Godhead. Like that. So then we get attracted. Like supposing if we get somebody says that, I can make you friends with the president or the prime minister. He's a very good friend of mine. So would you like to come along? So that person will feel so important. Arey Baba, I'm going to see the prime minister, and when he comes back, he's going to show all the photographs to all his friends and to the entire society, and they will hold a big party. My brother, he went to see the prime minister. He was with the prime minister, and then there will be on the wall 50 photographs with the prime minister that are there. So it is the opulence that attracts people. So that Vasudeva Krishna is the embodiment of attraction through the opulence of Krishna, through the Vaibhav Prakash of Krishna. That is Vasudeva Krishna. And that is the reason why Vyasadeva is praying first to Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. But Vasudeva Krishna is not the Gaudiya Vaishnava's goal, which again, when time comes, I will highlight that point very, very importantly as we progress into. So Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is the mantra that he speaks, and it is the same mantra that was given to Dhruv Maharaj by Naradji. When Dhruv Maharaj left his house in search of God. And when Naradji came, and Naradji said, "What are you doing, my little boy?" A 5-year-old boy in a deep forest. "Well, my mother told me that, if I have to fulfill my desires, I have to see God, and I will request God to fulfill my desires. So can you tell me where I can find God?" So the mother tells Dhruv, "I have heard that the God is in the deepest of the forest, because so many Rishi Munis are sitting in meditation, and perhaps that's where you will find God." So this 5-year-old boy takes that very seriously and leaves the house in search of God. And when Naradji sees that, obviously Krishna himself sends Naradji, because a very small boy going into the deepest of the forest with so many different wild animals, in this was for his protection. Naradji was sent, and Naradji says, "Where are you doing, my dear boy?" "Oh, actually, have you seen God? I want to see God. Please tell me how I can find God." So Naradji says, "Arey Baba, go back home. This is not your age. You're supposed to play. You're just a 5-year-old boy." So then he says, in the essence of that, it will also come in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Dhruv Maharaj's Prasanga, the Leela or the pastimes of Dhruv Maharaj. So in that, Dhruv Maharaj tells Naradji also, "Look, don't waste my time." In other words, he's saying, if you know where God is, let me know, otherwise leave me alone. So then Naradji saw that he was such a very, very serious person. Although in a body of a young boy, 5-year-old boy, then he initiates him into this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And Dhruv Maharaj practices with that mantra severe austerities, and he keeps chanting that mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And at the end, he has austerities of such great stature that he stops eating, drinking, he stops taking water, he stands on one foot, he even stops taking air. He has controlled his pranavayu so much, and he's simply chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, meditating on that mantra that the Guru gave. And that is what an initiation mantra is. An initiation mantra is passed on in parampara. It is not that anybody can whimsically chant that mantra. Anybody can chant any mantra like that. Like a lot of people chant the Gayatri mantra. The Gayatri mantra, of course, it has become very common. As persons who are unauthorized should not be chanting that mantra. Om, that Bhur Bhuva Sva Tatsavitur Varenyam. It has become so common, but it was only given to persons who had Brahminical qualification in their ear by the Guru. It was not meant for the ears of, but then it became very common. And when things become common, and then familiarity breeds contempt, then the value is lost. And especially that value is not there, not much value, if I should say so, because it has been not given by a true Guru. So the sound vibration is given by the Guru through the mantra meditation. Mana trayati iti mantra. Mana means the mind or the heart. Trayati means to deliver a contaminated heart or a contaminated mind. Trayati means to do that is iti mantra. Mana trayati iti mantra. So due to that contamination, Guru knows exactly how to deliver a person, and that is why in this Kali Yuga especially, the holy names and what in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's line, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, that is given in the initiation. In the Harinam initiation, that is the process given by a Guru in proper disciplic succession. So this Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva was given to Dhruv Maharaj, and when Dhruv Maharaj successfully, attracted the Supreme Lord from Vaikuntha Narayan, that opulent Lord, that Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya mantra brought that Lord Narayana down to earth. And then there was a nice prayers and conversation that issued within between Narayan and Dhruv Maharaj. So Lord Narayan is from Vaikuntha. Vasudeva is also a part of Vaikuntha, the opulence. Therefore, we can safely conclude that Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya is being addressed here in the Srimad Bhagavatam by Vyasadeva, so that opulence of the Supreme Lordships can be manifest in the heart of Vyasadeva. So then Vyasadeva starts with the very first verse. Om Janmadiyasya Yatvanvayat Itaratascha Artheshva Abhigyaswarat Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kavaye Muhyanti Yat Suraya Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Amrusha dhamna svena sada nirasta kuhakam satyam param dhimahi. It's a wonderful verse and a very long verse. Om Janmadi Yasya. So the first two words of this Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam or the Mangalacharan, Om Janmadi Yasya. Again, Om represents Sri Krishna, the sound vibration, because anytime one says Om, we are bringing the presence of Krishna. And because like even when we are, if you all have noticed, when they even the Brahmin performing any normal pujas, like even if it is a karma kandi puja, he gives us some achaman, some water in our palms, and he says, Om, first say this, Om Sri Keshvaya Nama, and sip it. Om Sri Narayana Nama, sip it. Om Sri Madhvaya Nama, sip it. So that is called achaman. So the names of Krishna are being spoken. It doesn't matter whether it is a wedding ceremony or some Graha Pravesh ceremony or anything like that. First, the name of Krishna always comes. The sound vibration of Krishna. Even in the wedding ceremony, the very first sloka that generally the Pandit also, Om, what is that? Pundrikaksham Mangala. I forget. See, even I forgot that. But the first word that comes is Krishna's name. Anyways, so wherever, and then even when they are doing the suchi or the cleansing purification, Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu, Oma Pavitra Pavitrava, Sarvavasta Gatopiva, Yasmareta Pundrikaksham. So Antar Bahyaram Suchi, Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu. So the names of Vishnu or Krishna, and whether it is in the sound vibration of Om or actual names, is very important before any kind of work is started, whether it is spiritual or material. That is what the Vedic culture is. So Om Janmadi Yasya. So let us analyze these two words, Janam, Adi, or these three words rather. Janam, Adi, Yasya. Janam means the creation. Janam. Adi means the sustenance or the maintenance. And Adi also means the annihilation, the pralay or the Mahapralay. So creation, between creation and annihilation, there is sustenance or maintenance. So Om, Janamadi Yasya. Janam, creation. Adi means the maintenance and annihilation. Yasya. Yasya means, O Krishna, through you. You are the source of these three. So let us examine. Now, there is so much actually just on the word Janam, on just the word creation. What kind of different creations are there? So let us discuss a few things about creation that will explain us the types. So creation can be of the different geography or the geographical locations of the material world and the spiritual worlds, right? So, for example, it is mentioned in the Shastras, especially Chaitanya Charitamrita, and even in Srimad Bhagavatam later on, and even in Prahlad Maharaj's canto number 7, chapter number 9, and even in the first canto, second chapter, the different components of creation have been mentioned. So first of all, we have to understand that this Janam Adi is Janam or creation of the spiritual worlds, the material worlds, the Janam or the creation of the different avatars or the expansions. That is what Janam means. Not only that, Janam also means the different mellows or rasas. So I will explain them as one by one, for example. So let us talk about first the expansions of the Supreme Lord very briefly. In this, I have explained that earlier, and again I will kindly briefly repeat that the entire creation of the Supreme Lord consists of material creation and the spiritual worlds. Material worlds and spirit. The material worlds are 25% approximately. and 75% of the creation is spiritual. Yes, indeed, 75% is Vaikuntha lokas. Vaikuntha, as I had explained, is Kuntha means anxiety and Vai means no anxiety. So the land where there is no anxiety is known as Vaikuntha, aptly named in Sanskrit Vaikuntha. And Kunta Jagat is this material world, or this 25% of this creation where there is Kunta or anxiety. What is the anxiety? Birth, death, old age, and disease are the four preliminary things. And of course, along with that, the three kinds of miseries are there. That is Adhyatmic, Adibhautik, and Adidaivik kleshas. Adhyatmic klesha means miseries that are inflicted by the self, like we fall sick, we get depression, we can get flu, fever, etc. Adi Bhautik klesha or miseries that are inflicted by others. Others give us pain. And that I need not explain by giving there are different kinds of examples that we can think of in our own lives, that how many people has given us pain. And then there is Adi Daivik klesh, catastrophes or kleshas or miseries that are given by the natural elements or by the demigods. So that is so one, for example, COVID-19 is a perfect example of Adi Daivik Klesh. Everybody is facing that issue right now. And it is nothing, not so, it's so much so that it has brought the whole world, to a standstill, and things will never be the same again in people's lives because of that. And even like when there are disasters like tsunami or earthquakes, those are all under the category of Adi Daivik Klesh, the kleshas given by the devas. And naturally, so one may ask that why is it so that the kleshas are given? Because it is a mass karmic reaction. That is a topic for another day and another time. And so anyways, so 25% of the janam or the creation is material, and 75% is spiritual, or the Vaikuntha lokas. And there are different planets in the spiritual worlds. There are there are different delineations. Let's say the spiritual world, basically the borderline starts with the Viraja or the Karunadaksha Jal. Above that is the Brahma Jyoti, or the effulgent belt full of light that actually emanates from Sri Krishna and his devotees and all the associates in the Vaikuntha lokas, because everybody is of so much purity that it emanates an amazing light. Just like we see a picture of a great saint, there is always an aura behind. In the picture, we see that there is a nice aura, light behind them. So, can you imagine the cumulative light of the 75% of the spiritual worlds is a belt called the Brahma Jyoti. And that Brahma Jyoti is the place for all those persons who believe that the Supreme Lord is a Brahma. Brahma means a light or an energy, and there's nothing beyond that. So they get residency in that area. Even some of the Mayavads, or most of the Mayavads, get residency there, but after that they fall down because there is no activity there is no seva there. It is just a pure area of effulgence, but that purity is there because it is bereft of the three modes of material nature. There is no tamogun, there is no rajagun, and there is no satagun. It cannot exist beyond the viraja. It has to be only in the 25% where the three modes of material nature exist. So the janam. Now, coming to the spiritual world, there are millions and millions of planets where there are millions and millions of avatars of the Lord. They reside in their own respective planets. Just like we have our own homes, we live in our own home or our own flat. So that so many there are ananta rupa. There are so many different rupas, or the forms of the Supreme Lord in this creation. They have their own planets, and they are all there in thousands and millions in the 75% region. And in that, some of the important delineations that I can recollect are, there is the Dham of Sadashiv. That Sadashiv is the Lord, the source of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva has got three Kailashas, one in the Vaikuntha lokas, and there are two here in this 25% region that we are talking about. Now, that Sadashiv is the main source of Lord Shiva and the different Rudras, etc. And then above that, there are different planets, spiritual planets, like there is Ayodhya, where Lord Ramachandra eternally resides. And then there is the planets where the Mathuresh, the residents of Mathura, when they were purified and when they were back home, they went to Mathura in Vaikuntha, or it is also known as Krishna Loka. And then Above Mathura is a loka known as the Dwarka, the Dwarka in Krishna Loka or in Vaikuntha, where Vasudev Krishna resides. Dwarkadis Krishna resides. And then above that, the topmost planet within the 75% region is known as Golok Vrindavan. And in Golok Vrindavan, the original source, Janmadi Yasya, from whom everything emanates, is that Sri Krishna, Nanda Nandana, Yashoda Nandana, Krishna, from whom everything emanates. Janam happens. So the first verse is Janam. Now, how does that happen? In Golok Vrindavan, Sri Krishna, he actually expands himself into two simultaneously. On his left side, he expands himself as the Haladini Shakti, and he himself being the Chitta Shakti. And then the third one, the second simultaneous expansion is Lord Balram, known as the Sandhini Shakti, or he's also known as the Shakti that creates the entire worlds and the creations that happens through him, and he is known as the Vaibhav Prakash. Now, please, if you cannot remember, it's okay. We are glorifying the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna Nanda Nandan, and that itself, that attempt itself by hearing and even speaking is very glorious and pleasing. So Nanda Nandan expands himself into Balram and Radharani. Radharani being the Haladini Shakti and Balram being the Sandhini Shakti, and Krishna himself is the Sambit Shakti. Don't worry about the terminologies. Balram known as the Vaibhav Prakash. Now the Vaibhav Prakash, if I can say, he's got exactly all the qualities of Sri Krishna Nanda Nandan, except his bodily features are different and he dresses differently. Otherwise, all his potencies that are there in Sri Krishna, he has all of them. And this Balram, he expands into different Tat Ekatma Rupas. So that is Janma. I'm explaining the very first word of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Janam. So that creation of the Balram is known as the Vaibhav Prakash, and that Tat Ekatma Rupa is expansion with different moods. And there are Vilasa Rupa, Prabhav Vilas, and Vaibhav Vilas. The Vilas Rupa happens from Lord Balram, which is known as the first Chaturvyu, or the four-armed Vishnu forms. We can say they are known as the different Vilasas of Krishna. They are different when they are enacting different kinds of Leelas for the creation. Then they are known as the Vilas Prakash or the Vilas Vaibhav. And then there is Prabhav Vilas and the Vaibhav Vilas. The Prabhav Vilas is the first Chaturvyu or the first quadruple expansion of Balram, that is Vasudev, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshan. And these four, or the Prabhav Vilas, are found in Dwarka. Dwarka in Vaikuntha. And of course, when Dwarka is manifest here in the Bhaumya Leela at that time as well. And then the other expansion of Balram is known as Vaibhav Vilas. This Vaibhav Vilas is the second quadruple expansion. Again, Vasudev, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshan. And those four are in Mathura. And that is the second quadruple expansion. And then there is the Swa Amshas, the different, where there is Leela avatars, Purusha avatars, Guna avatars, Shaktavish avatars, Manvantar avatars, Yuga avatars. So these are all different avatars of Nanda Nandan Krishna in Golok Vrindavan. The different avatars, for example, we can say they are also, briefly I can mention that the living entities that are empowered directly by Sri Krishna, for example, are those avatars of the four Kumars, like Naradji. He is also empowered. Brahmaji, he is also empowered. Ananta Sesha, Prithu Maharaj, Parshuram, Parshuram, the one with the axe. So those are the different avatars that are known as the Shaktavesh avatars. And Srila Prabhupada is also known as the Shaktavesh avatar. Jesus Christ is also known as Shaktavesh avatar. One who is empowered by Krishna to do some wonderful things, especially for the benefit of mankind, for the spiritual activities. So those are known as Shaktavesh avatars. And then there is the Vibhu avatars, or the great avatars, where the reflections of the Lord might there is in a certain percentage the might of the Supreme Lord or the power of the Supreme Lord is displayed, like in different demigods or Devi Devtas such as Indra, Agni, Vayu, Meru, Brihaspati, Kartikeya, Bhrigumuni, etc. So all these, and then of course from the Vaibhav Vilas, the Mahasankarshan, there is the three different Vishnus that are this Karanadaksai Vishnu or Mahavishnu, Garbhodaksai Vishnu, and from whom Lord Brahma, from his navel, he takes birth, and then Shirodaksai Vishnu, the one who lies in the ocean of milk, and that is the one that we had discussed, if you remember, during the time when Bhumi takes the shape of a cow and approaches Lord Brahma due to the atrocities of the demonic forces, and Lord Brahma, along with Lord Shiva and many other Devi Devtas or demigods, goes to the ocean of milk, Sirodaksai Sagar, the Shir Sagar, and prays to Sirodaksai Vishnu, who is the expansion of the expansion of the expansion of the Vaibhav Vilas, or the second quadruple of the Mahasankarshan. So there is so much. I mean, Chaitanya Charitamrita, the biography of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If we read, I think it's in the Adi Leela second chapter, very nicely. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has explained different delineations of or the different avatars of the Supreme Lord. So Janam, so all these avatars, and then of course they do their part of the creation. So for example, Balramji is he who also is from him the different uh, the spiritual worlds are created, uh, and also the other personalities like the Vilas and the Prabhav and the Vaibhav Vilas, all those they are created through Balram. So Janmadi Asya, but the root is Sri Krishna, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. That is Nanda Nandan in Golok Vrindavan. Like even in Golok Vrindavan, there is another wonderful expansion of Krishna known as the Prabhav Prakash. Now that Prabhav Prakash is the multiple forms of Krishna that is witnessed in the Ras Leela. In the Ras Leela, if you all know that when Krishna was dancing with the gopis, there were thousands and thousands of gopis, and Krishna, to satisfy the desires of each and every gopi, he expanded himself exactly as he is from his origin of Nandan Nandan. But one cannot differentiate which one is he and which one is original, and that is known as the Prabhav Prakash. So Janmadi Yasya. Now, that being said, all the different spiritual creations and then the different avatars, the material worlds are also created through the agents of Krishna. Like Mahavishnu himself, he expands. He actually in the Karanjal he reclines and he lies down. And when the entire world, all the different Brahmans, the 25% region, is created by simply his exhalation. There's a nice verse in the Brahma Samhita. Perhaps my good friend Dr. Nanpran Prabhuji, if he can remember that, Yasya Svida Kala Vathava Lambyo, and I forgot the rest of the part. Just by the one exhalation of Mahavishnu's exhalation, millions and millions of Brahmans in this material world are created. So Janamadi Yasya, Janam, the creation of all these different material worlds are also are happening through the Vaibhav Vilas's Mahasankarshan, through the agent of Mahavishnu, known as the Leela avatars, the different Leelas that are happening, material also. And then actually the words that Vyasdeva says, Janmadi Yasya Yato Anvayad Itaratascha Artheshva. So directly and indirectly you create. So directly the creation is done through his direct creation, through the Prabhav Prakash of Balram, and through all the different expansions. That is his direct creation. But the indirect, Itaratascha Artheshva. Artheshva means his indirect creation is through Maya Devi. Maya is his. There are three basically, you can say, the Antaranga Shakti, the Bahiranga Shakti, and Tatastha Shakti. Antaranga Shakti is his internal potencies, which we described, that includes all the different Prabhav Prakashas and the Vilas Prakash and the Prabhav Vilas and the Vaibhav Vilas and the different avatars, the Swamshas, the Vibhuamshas, etc. But there is the creation of the material world is done through the agency of Maya. Krishna, actually, Mahavishnu injects the jivas from his belly, from that region, into the Mahat Tattva. That is the conglomeration or the warehouse of all the material ingredients that are necessary, including time. The material time is injected, and due to that agitation, and the three gunas are injected into the material world, and due to the agitation, the material world and material time, uh, they start playing a role, and the illusion, the jivas who come into this material world are captivated by Maya, by that illusion, and therefore indirectly their creation through Maya is also done, and that is why Om Janmadi Yasya Yato Anvayat Itaratascha Artheshwa. Directly and indirectly, Krishna, he was the cause of all creation. And of course, the sustenance. Now, coming to the sustenance part, the sustenance part is done through the agency of Vishnu. The three Vishnus that are there, Karanadaksha Vishnu, the Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and Shirodakshai Vishnu. They are the expansions of Sri Krishna through Balram, and Balram's expansion, that they are the maintainers of the material worlds. And of course, Krishna is the maintainer of the spiritual worlds and the material worlds through his agents. There's a very nice bhajan that I can remember, Thakur Bhaktivedanta depicting perhaps this theme of the Janmadi Yasya in his book known as the Sharanagati, under the Bhaktivedanta Purana section, where Krishna is the provider, he is the maintainer. He's known as the Gopta. He says, Tumi Sarveshwareshwara Brajendra Kumara. Tumi Sarveshwareshwara Brajendra Kumara. तुम्हारा इच्छाए विश्वे सृजना संहार. तुम्हारा इच्छाए विश्वे सृजना संहार. तुम्ही सर्वेश्वरेश्वर ब्रजेंद्र कुमार. तव इच्छा मतो ब्रह्मा कोरेना सृजान. तव इच्छा मतो ब्रह्मा कोरेना सृजान. तव इच्छा मतो विष्णु कोरेना पालन. तव इच्छा मतो विष्णु कोरेना पालन. तुम्ही सर्वेश्वरेश्वर व्रजेंद्र कुमार. तुम्ही सर्वेश्वरेश्वर व्रजेंद्र कुमार. तव इच्छा मते शिव कोरेना संहार. तव इच्छा मते शिव कोरेना संहार. तव इच्छा मते माया श्रीजे कारागार. तव इच्छा मते माया श्रीजे कारागार. तुम्ही सर्वेश्वरेश्वर व्रजेंद्र कुमार. तव इच्छा मते जीवे जन्म मरण. तव इच्छा मते जीवे जन्म मरण. समृद्धि निपाते दुःख सुख संघटन. समृद्धि निपाते दुःख सुख संघटन. तुम्ही सर्वेश्वरेश्वर व्रजेंद्र कुमार. मीचे मायाबद्ध जीव आसा पाशे फिरे. मीचे मायाबद्ध जीव आसा पाशे फिरे. तव इच्छा बिना किछु कोरिते न पारे. तव इच्छा बिना किछु कोरिते न पारे. तुम्ही सर्वेश्वरेश्वर व्रजेंद्र कुमार. तुम्ही सर्वेश्वरेश्वर व्रजेंद्र कुमार. तुम्ही तो रखा खयार पालकाय मार. तुम्ही तो रखा खयार पालकाय मार. तुम्हारा चरण बिना आशा नाही यार. तुम्हारा चरण बिना आशा नाही यार. तुम्ही सर्वेश्वरेश्वर व्रजेंद्र कुमार. तुम्ही सर्वेश्वरेश्वर व्रजेंद्र कुमार. निज बल चेष्टा प्रति भरोसा छड़िया. निज बल चेष्टा प्रति भरोसा छड़िया. तुम्हारा इच्छा याची निर्भर कोरिया. तुम्हारा इच्छा याची निर्भर कोरिया. तुम्ही सर्वेश्वरेश्वर व्रजेंद्र कुमार. तुम्ही सर्वेश्वरेश्वर व्रजेंद्र कुमार. भक्ति विनोदयती. भक्ति विनोदयती दीनया किंचन. भक्ति विनोदयती दीनया किंचन. तुम्हारा इच्छा तात जीवन मरण. तुम्हारा इच्छा तात जीवन मरण. तुम्ही सर्वेश्वरेश्वर व्रजेंद्र कुमार. तुम्ही सर्वेश्वरेश्वर व्रजेंद्र kumar. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I could not help but recollect this bhajan. It's a beautiful bhajan that actually depicts the first three words of this Srimad Bhagavatam, of the very first verse of the Mangalacharan, where he says, "O youthful son of King of Raj, Tumi Sarveshwareshwara, Tumi, you, Sarve, all, Ishwara, the controller of all the controllers. Tumi Sarveshwareshwara Vrajendra Kumar." We explained this before, that we are all Ishwaras because we are made in his image. We are his anshas. Mama Yamsha Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Even in the Bible it is said, man is made in the image of God. So we have all the qualities of God. We have all the qualities of Sri Krishna, but in a very, very atomic or a very, very minuscule form. So because he is the Ishwara Parama, he's got that controlling feature in him, that guna or that quality in him, we also have that. And that ranges from different ranges, right from the smallest living entity, who is even, it could be even a dog who is very controlling of his territory. Like even sometimes we see that in the middle of the night, we hear the dogs bark a lot. And suddenly we see that there is a fifth dog who comes into this 4-dog group, and they don't want that fifth dog inside. And they're controlling their territory. And they actually, either they chase that fifth dog outside the territory, or they try to bite and fight with that dog. So that controlling nature is there in all the jivas. But Tumi Sarveshwareshwara Vrajendra Kumar, that includes that even the different demigods, they are also controllers. So he says, "Oh, Vrajendra Kumar," here he is addressing Vrajendra Kumar. Vrajendra Kumar means the Indra of Vraj Indra means king, basically. And the Indra of Vraj is Nanda Maharaj. So Vrajendra Kumar means the Kumar or the young son, the Kishore son of the king of Vraja, meaning the youthful son of Nanda Maharaj. You are the controllers of all the controllers. Tumi Sarve Soreshwara Vrajendra Kumar. So this Vrajendra Kumar is the one in Golok Vrindavan. It is exactly this Krishna who is 16 years old. To be precise, 15 years, 9 months and 27 days old. He is the Adi Purusha, Govindam Adi Purusha, that from everything emanates Janmadi Yasya. That is the same Govindam Adi Purusham that Lord Brahmaji is speaking in his Brahma Samhita, in his prayers of Brahma Samhita, and what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is talking about, the Kishore Krishna. Vrajendra Kumar. So he is the controller of all the controllers. This is such an amazing topic that, on these first two words alone, I can be stuck on it because so many wonderful thoughts and so many wonderful uh, things are manifesting by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas within the heart. He is the controller. Tumi Sarveswareshwara Varendra. He actually controls the entire Vraj. Everybody is being controlled by him because of his sweetness and his naughtiness. Everybody is being controlled. And vice versa. He is being controlled by all. So there's a very other wonderful nuance in this Janmadhyasya. In this nuance, the Janmadhyasya also means that everything emanates from Vraj Bhumi or Golok Bhumi. And those qualities of the creation of the different rasas happens through Sri Krishna, including the 5 different rasas that we see and we experience in this material world of Dasyaras, of Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakyaras, uh, Sakyaras, the Vatsalyaras and Madhuriras. So Shant, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya and Madhuriras. These 5 rasas or 5 relationships, because they exist in the spiritual world and because the source of that is Sri Krishna, who is the real Vastu, the real object of worship. He is the source of everything, the real Vastu. That person has, because of him, because they're existing in the spiritual world in a perverted reflection, these relationships exist even in this material world. And we can see that we somewhere or the other, either we are servants of our boss or we are bosses of somebody. So that Dasyaras is there. We are friends of many people in our lives. That Sakyaras is there. We are children or we have children. That Vatsalyaras is there. And we have also the Madhuryaras or the conjugal love or the lover and the beloved, just like a relationship between 2 lovers, like a husband and wife or a boyfriend and a girlfriend. So how do these emanate? How do these take janam? So Janmadhyasya, these relationships or mellows happen from you. Oh Vrajendra Nandan, Tumi Sarveswareshwara Vrajendra Kumar. So beautiful. This is the essence. This bhajan explains this first verse so nicely. Actually, the first line of the first verse. Tumi sarve sarveshwara brajendra tumhare ichhaye vishve srijana samar. And it is through your desire the different creations take place and the material worlds are annihilated or destructed. The destruction takes place when Mahavishnu, when he inhales, like we do lom vilom, right? When we're doing pranayam. So when we inhale, we are taking in air. At that time, all the entire 25% of the material worlds are annihilated just by that half breath. Can you imagine like how much time it takes for one complete breath, inhale and exhalation? That's all, a split of a second. So within a split of a second in Vishnu's time, Mahavishnu's time, millions and millions of Brahmans in this 25% region are created. And millions of Brahmans, when he inhales, they are destroyed. The Mahapralay comes. So Tumi Sarve Shareshwara Brajendra Kumar, Tumara Ichai Vishwesh Rijena Samhar. Tava Icha Mato Brahma Korena Srijan. Now, yeah, very nice there. Tava Icha Mato Brahma Korena Srijan. It is by your desire Lord Brahma creates. So Lord Brahma is considered as the second creator. How is he the second creator? So the expansion of Mahavishnu, who has created all these empty worlds, the different Brahmans, through his exhalation, they are completely empty. And then he further, in each and every Brahman in the bottom, he expands Mahavishnu or Karana Udakashayi Vishnu. He expands himself into Garbhodaksayi Vishnu in every Brahman. So imagine a Brahman as a football. And imagine there are millions and millions of Brahmans floating around in this 25% area. And they are all completely empty. And then Mahavishnu, through his exhalation, is creating those footballs or those Brahmans or those universal systems. I will not call them planets because in a universal system, there are millions and millions of stars and planets. So the word that I would like to cautiously use is universal system. So one Brahman is a universal system. It's a group of planets, sun, moon, stars, etc., and other heavenly planets and hellish planets and earthly planets. So millions of such Brahmans are created, and then in that Brahman, in the bottom, there is a very nice avatar of Mahavishnu known as the Garbhodakshai Vishnu. He takes residence. He actually, through his sweat, the Garbhasagar emanates. And that Garbhasagar fills about 1/3 or 25% to 1/3 of the waters in the bottom of that football or that Brahman. And that's where he reclines. Now, this Garbhodakshai Vishnu is expanded into every Brahman. Please try to absorb this into every Brahman. And then in every Brahman, this Garbhodakshai Vishnu gives birth to Lord Brahma through his navel. So, as many Brahmans, that many Lord Brahmas. Please try to understand this concept. And this Lord Brahma, when he actually appears, he doesn't know what to do. He is in darkness, and like anybody else, janmana jayati shudra sanskarat bhavati dvija. When one is born is ignorant. Shudra means ignorance. It's a very simple translation of the word Sanskrit word shudra means in English, it means ignorance. So by birth we are all ignorant. We have to be given knowledge by somebody. So this Brahma is given knowledge by Sri Krishna through the agency of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And that Garbhodakshai Vishnu gives birth, and this Lord Brahma is actually traveling in this stem of the lotus, because he's born from the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. A wonderful, beautiful lotus grows, and he goes to the stem and he goes on the top of the lotus, finding his seat wet, and it's completely dark because that Brahmand is dark. Nothing is created yet. Absolute darkness. And he is completely lost. And then there is a sound vibration that comes through the form of Kam Gayatri. This is explained. Lord Brahma himself admits that how he gets initiated by Krishna's sound vibration through his flute, and he is given the Gayatri mantra known as the Kam. There are many types of Gayatri mantras. Just don't think that Om Bhur Bhosva Tatsavitur Varenyam is only one Gayatri mantra. Actually, those of us, we have been fortunate to be initiated in the second Brahman initiation in the Varnashram system that was originally chalked out by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Thakur Prabhupada, which A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada followed, and he gave initiation to those persons who are interested and who can serve on the altar by taking that janoi or the Brahminical thread. And that Brahminical thread became necessary because a lot of criticism started coming to those persons who were serving on the altar doing deity seva, and they were people from the West, people from so many different countries, not born as Hindus, and they were. So then Prabhupada very, very nicely remembered his Guru Maharaj's instruction that Janmana Jayati Shudra Sanskarat Bhavati Dvija. One can become a Dvija, twice born, through Sanskar. And Daivi Varnashram system was set up like through the instructions of Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada, that nobody will criticize you. Now you can do the sanskaras of anybody who can qualify if they are following the 4 regulative principles, like no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. They're not even drinking tea and coffee. They've become good Vaishnavas. They're chanting the holy names. That qualifies them more than to become a Brahmin by birth. And then there are certain Pancharatrika Vidhis, like there is a yagya, a fire done, and mantra is given. So that Gayatri mantra, we have like 7 different Gayatris that we chant every day. Those who are Brahmin initiation. One is the first Gayatri that everybody knows. Then there are 2 Guru Gayatris. There are 2 Gauranga Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gayatris. And there are 2 Krishna Gayatris. So, like that, the Kam Gayatri or the Bij mantra was given to Lord Brahma. So, तुम्हारा इच्छा है विश्व सृजना समार तवा इच्छा मते ब्रह्मा कोरेना सृजान. So then Brahma was given not only spiritual knowledge, which is coming in this verse, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. In this first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Om Janmadi Yasya Yato Anvayat Itaratascha Artheshwa Abhikya Swarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. So in this, Tene means he, Krishna, imparted Brahma, the spiritual knowledge, Hridaya, in the heart of Adi Kavi. Adi Kavi means Lord Brahma. Like any Vaishnavas who have accepted initiation, and especially Lord Brahma got initiated directly by Sri Krishna. He gave him the Kam Gayatri, the Gopal mantra, and he revealed Golok Vrindavan to this particular Brahma. It's amazing. Krishna, through his flute, he actually, if you have seen the cover of the Brahma Samhita, Krishna is playing the flute, and Lord Brahma is actually, that flute vibration is going into Lord Brahma when Brahma. So Lord Brahma is asked to sit under meditation, and then that Kam Gayatri or the Gopal mantra is given, and Golok Vrindavan is revealed to Brahma. Not only that, all the spiritual components are revealed, but also how to recreate the material worlds. So therefore, he's known as the second creator. And that's why Bhaktivedanta Thakur is saying that Tava Ichha Mato Vishnu Korena Palan. Vishnu and Tava Ichha Mato Brahma Korena Srijan. So Vishnu is, the Brahma is the creator of the material worlds under the instruction of Krishna, and Vishnu does the Palan, because he is an expansion of an expansion of an expansion of expansion of Sri Krishna. He actually fulfills the desire of Nandan Nandan, Rajendra Nandan Krishna by performing the different duties in his portfolio, meaning annihilation, creation through the breathing, and also through the agitation of the Mahattattva by putting in material time and in the material elements, etc. So that is the duty. It is a non-stop cycle that Mahavishnu does under the instruction of Sri Krishna Nandan Nandan by the Ichha. Tava Ichha Mato Brahma Korena Srijan, Tava Ichha Mato Vishnu Korena Palan. Further he says, Tava Ichha Mate Shiva Korena Samhar, Tava Ichha Mate Maya Srije Karagar. Very beautiful, nice verse. Where now we are talking about Janmadi Yasya. Again, I have to go back to the first three words. Adi means the sustenance and the annihilation. So we already discussed the sustenance of Vishnu and the creation of the material worlds through Lord Brahma. Now the annihilation. How does the annihilation of the material worlds takes place first? The first way it happens is through Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, at the time of Mahapralay, when Lord Brahma's 100 years are up, he is actually given this portfolio of this Mahapralay, or this mass destruction through the Tandav Nritya. He is given. So Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva, they are known as the Guna avatars. Lord Vishnu is the Adishta Dev of Satogun. Brahmaji is the Adishta Dev of Rajagun. And Lord Shiva is the Adishta Dev of Tamogun. But amazingly enough, Lord Shiva is not really touched by the Tamogun. He is just taken a little bit to please Vishnu or to please Krishna. That is called Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam. To please Krishna, somebody has to do that job. Somebody has to do the job of annihilation. Somebody has to pick up that big hammer or that wrecking ball and do that job. Otherwise, how will the new creation happen? How will the new millenniums happen? How will the new avatars, the different avatars of the Lord, they have to come by clockwork? How will they come? So somebody has to be an instrument in that destruction, and that is why Lord Shiva, Tava Ichha Mate Shiva Korena Samar. So Janmadi Yasya explained here again. And then Tava Ichha Mate Maya Srije Karagar. Very beautiful. So Maya here is Durga Devi. Durga Devi is the one who is actually the superintendent in charge of this Durga or fort or this prison house of the 25% of this material world known as the samsara. In the Brahma Samhita, there is a verse, Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Reka Chayevya Yasya Bhuvanani Bibarti Durga Ichha Anurupamapi Cha Cheshtatesa Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Maya Devi is the superintendent in charge of this material world under your instructions. Ichha Anurupamapi. According to your will, she conducts herself. She is the one. Actually speaking, Maya is the one who stops us from getting out of this prison house. How is that so? For example, we are all under the influence of Maya. We are the influence of the three modes of material nature. Tamogun, Rajagun, and Satogun. We are thinking that we are this body. So that is the perfect example and the perfect influence of Maya. What better example can I give you? We are thinking that, oh, I am Canadian. I've got Canadian passport, or my son is born in Canada, he's Canadian, I will introduce when we go to India. Arey Baba, he's American, don't mess with him. Ye Trump ka aadmi hai. People will jokingly talk like that. So, like this is the identification we give. Oh, you know what? I am Gujarati, or I am Punjabi, I am Odia, I am Bengali. So these are all different. I am the CEO of such and such a company, or I am this and I am that. So all those aham and mama, that is the cause of, because under the influence of Maya, thinking that I am this body, which I am not. Just because somebody's body is born in Gujarat and he identifies himself as Gujarati, is the soul Gujarati? No. Supposing right now the sun, we are in Toronto at right now this time, it's 7:30 p.m. It is almost ready to set. I see from my window that the redness has come of the sun setting. So right now this sun is setting, and in a maybe half an hour it will be rising over Japan, over Tokyo. So can the Tokyo people or the Japanese people say that this is Japanese sun? A few hours later, it will rise over Singapore. Can the Singaporeans claim that it is a Singaporean sun? A few hours later, it will rise over India. Can the Indians say this is Indian sun? And later on, it will rise over the Middle East, or to the African continent, and then to Europe, and then again back to the North Americas or the South Americas. Can they claim that this is their sun? So similarly, as far as the Jiva is concerned, it is not Hindu, it is not Muslim, it is not Punjabi, it is not none of those isms. No, not where nationalism, patriotism, everything is all known as upadhis. Sarva upadhi vinirmuktam tat paratena nirmalam risikena risikesha sevanam tat bhaktir uchyate. Narad Muni says that sarva upadhi, one has to go beyond all these bodily designations. Yes, of course we have a body, so we understand, but internally we have to come to the point of that bhakti, that we have to realize that we are a part of Krishna. Mamai Amsha Jiva, we are an Ansha of Krishna, and we are his eternal servants. Jiver Swarup Hoy Krishna Nityadas. Although we may be acting externally in a different way, outside doing our job, our duties, etc., but internally the devotee who is fully realized understands that this is just a temporary phase, this body, this covering. Today somebody is born as an American or an Indian, tomorrow that person can die and that citizenship will be gone. Who knows? He can be born as an African leopard in the desert of Africa, and etc. So where is that citizenship? It is impermanent. Where is that citizenship of America? Impermanent. But what is permanent? That Jiva, according to that karma, will continue the journey. It will continue the journey. And the success of that journey is when that Jiva is able to completely disassociate with all bodily designations. Sarva upadhi vinirmuktam. Tatparatena nirmalam. Then one becomes completely situated on a Brahma Bhuta platform, on a platform of spirituality. Brahma Bhuta prasanna atmana sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktir labhate param. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says that one who is on that platform, Brahma Bhuta, situated on a high spiritual platform, who understands that I am not this body, I am a spirit soul, and I am an eternal servant of Sri Krishna. These three things are important in full realization. I am not this body, I am a spirit soul, and I am an eternal servant of Krishna. That is complete realization. That is called anubhuti, or self-realization, atma sakshatkar. So then that person will never hanker after anything, or never lament after anything, and will look upon everybody equally, because all he sees is that everybody is an ansha, whether it is the ant or the elephant or a Brahmin. Everybody is looked upon equally, because that is the vision that self-realized soul is gifted with. And that's a very difficult thing to attain, but it is possible to attain through proper practice of bhakti yoga, under the proper guidance of the proper bona fide acharyas, bona fide devotees. They can guide us. So similarly, as I was saying, that coming back to what is the role of Maya, Maya makes us stay in this material world. That is a role to keep us in illusion, to constantly keep us in illusion. As a matter of fact, when we try to become spiritual, the more Maya will test us, it will become harder. It is said that I had heard one of the acharyas say there is more Maya in temples than outside the temples. Because we see that even in temples, we see that even after taking to spiritual life, there is so much politics. There people are, just in the name of God, in the name of religion, in the name of, they try to either collect money or they try to do that because they want to be on that corporate successful ladder that I collected so many, I built so many temples, I did this. It is I, and that is Maya. The moment Prabhupada never thought like that. Prabhupada always, whenever there was a new temple going or new deity, my dear Krishna, if you so desire, please make this temple happen. Please let these devotees in Sydney serve you. My dear Sri Krishna, my dear Sri Radha Ras Bihari ji, Bombay, Juhu. So many difficulties they were there. They were cheated. The devotees, the Western devotees. One Mr. Nair sold Bombay Juhu land to 3 or 4 different people. He took money from all. And the case went to court, and then this and that. The deities were already there, and they were worshiping the deities on the Juhu beach under a tarpaulin. And Prabhupada used to personally pray, my dear Sri Radha Rasbihari, if you so desire, please let your temple happen. He never said, not even once, I built these temples. But this is something that we need to learn from the acharyas. Even when we are doing something spiritual, something nice, that is the appealing, it is the mercy of our acharyas, mercy of Sri Krishna. We don't have that ability. Ekaki amar nahi payable. We do not have that ability. The moment we think that we have that ability, then it is Maya. Even though we may be dressed up nicely in tilak, kurta, dhoti, big mala, big tilak, Maya is doing her job. That is why I am explaining this line in more detail. That tava ichha mate Maya srije karagar. Karagar means jail. And this material world is 25% is jail, not easily escapable. Even after taking to the spiritual life, unless and until one is very serious, one will be under the influence of Maya. I need to drink tea also. I need to drink coffee also. Kabhi kabhi beer bhi chal jata hai. I need a guru like that. Then we will get Asaram Bapu type gurus. It's okay to sleep with somebody else's wife, but at the same time, acha lagta hai bhajan sunne ka. So we should listen to bhajan. So Maya Devi is so strong. Srije Karagar. Don't underestimate Maya. Actually, Vyasdev asked last time in the introduction, I remember I mentioned when Krishna appeared to him, he says, I want to see your spiritual world and I also want to see your Maya. Krishna says, are you sure you want to see my Maya? Are you sure? Think twice. Because Maya is so strong that even the strongest of the strong can become fallible. They can become Chutta. Achutta means one who is beyond Maya. And Chutta means one who has fallen in Maya. One who is subject to the laws of Maya. Krishna has very clearly said that in the Bhagavad Gita. What is that nice verse? He says that Maya duratteya mam tarantite mam prapadyante Maya tarantite. He says that my Maya is extremely difficult to surmount. She is that superintendent of that jail, not easily. That is why Maya Devi has said, Durga Devi has got that trident, that trishul. It is like, I like to give this example. Supposing there is a very, very strong jail, big, huge jail. We see that in the movies or something, right? Sometimes. And according to the what you call, intensity of the crime, the different cells are allocated in that prison. Some of the prisoners have been given normal kind of prison movement, that they can move around during the daytime. They can go into the canteen during the lunch, during the dinner hour, breakfast hour, and then in between they can go into the yard, which is also completely fenced and electronic fence, and all kinds of security gadgets are there, lots of floodlights and everything. But you see those prisoners, sometimes they are exercising or walking or jogging and doing all those things, or even they're just congregating and talking in the open air. But out of that, if a couple prisoners or one prisoner starts walking towards that fence, then what is going to happen? The guards on the top, immediately, those they are simply even joking and talking or smoking their cigarettes and cracking jokes, they are not concerned when the prisoners are right in the middle. But when they see one of them walking towards the edge of that compound, towards that wall, then immediately they start whistling, they start talking to each other, they start pointing guns. That, hey, what are you doing? Go back. So Maya Devi is like that. But the difference between the guard of the Karagar of the material world and Maya Devi is also Vaishnav Devi. She wants to make sure that whoever leaves this material world is qualified. Not even a tinge of her qualities of Tamo, Rajo, and Sato are in that individual. And when one is completely cleansed, or at least that desire is there, then Maya Devi, Vaishnav Devi will help us get out of the material world. But until then, we are under her guidance in the Karagar or in this jail, the 25% of the Mrityu Samsara Sagar. So tava ichha mate maya srije karagar. So that maintenance of the material world also is happening due to tava ichha, due to by your instructions, by your desire, O Krishna. Tumi sarve sareshwara Vrajendra Kumar. So like this, tava ichha mate jiver janama marana. It is by your wish that the jiva dies or the person takes birth or death. And sabriddhi nipate dukkha sukha samghatana. And even whether one gets opulence or money or aristocracy, or one gets miseries or happiness, it is also tava ichha mate. It is by your desire. Niche maya baddha jiva asha pashe fire. Ichha tava ichha bina kichu kurita na pare. And one who is completely, the jivas in this 25% in this material world, they are miche maya baddha. Baddha means they are tied by maya. Guna. Guna means a rope. In Sanskrit, that is why we call the three guna. Three guna means tamogun, rajogun, and satogun. They keep you tied to the material world. Satogun also keeps you tied. I've explained that. But satogun gives us the sattvic qualities or punya karma. But due to punya, we will end up in the heavenly planets. But after that, we will have to come back to the earthly planet. And again, depending on the association, we get the wrong association, then we may do the vikarma, or we may do pap karma, and we may end up in the hellish planet. So, ei rupe brahman brahmide. In this fashion, sometimes we are on earth, we go to the heavenly planets, we get the birth of some demigods, like Devi Devatas, we even get that. Brahma is also a position. If somebody amongst the jivas, Brahma has maximum quality a jiva can attain is 50 qualities. Lord Shiva has 55 qualities. And all the avatars of Krishna, generally speaking, they have 60 qualities. And Krishna, Nandanandan, has 64 qualities. So, just as a reference. So, when somebody attains 50 qualities of that nature, one can become Brahma. One can become, just like one has the quality or to become a prime minister or president of a very powerful nation, then one can be elected or qualified to run that country. Similarly, one can be qualified to run that particular Brahman by becoming a Brahman. Sometimes a qualified person or a jiva is not there, then Krishna himself takes that position of Brahma. Krishna, even sometimes there is no qualified king in the third Swarga, which is Indra, commonly known as Indra. Then Krishna himself takes that position of Indra. It is there in the Shastras, it is given. So, like even the Yamraj is a position. The Yamraj is a position. It is not that one. So like this, there are different positions one can attain. And that is why Maya is the one who actually keeps us in this material world. The life and death, everything is tava ichha mate. Everything is. So nija bole chesta prati bharosha chadiya. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, I have given up my own, nija bole chesta. That I am not, I have no strength, that I can attain this on my own, especially spirituality. I can attain your mercy. Tomara ichha achi nirbhar koriya. Now it is up to you whether you want to make my existence successful or not. Tomari ichha achi nirbhar koriya. Bhaktivinod ati dina kinchana tomari ichha tar jivana marana. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that ati dina kinchana. I'm extremely in a humble mood. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, I don't have anything. So even if we have so many riches, houses, cars, everything, actually we are actually penniless. We are poor. We don't have any bhakti. Those who don't have bhakti, they are poor. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is taking a very humble stance. Actually, he is the richest because he possesses Krishna. Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite par. Tomar shakti ache, ami to kangal, Krishna Krishna boli, dhai tava pache pache, Dayal Vaishnav Thakur. Oh hey Vaishnav Vaishnav Thakur Dayara Shagor E Dashe Karuna Kori. In one of the bhajans, he is saying that Ami to Kangal, I am completely bereft. I am following you, O Prabhupada, O Acharyas, O devote, O great Acharyas. You possess Krishna. Because Krishna is yours. Krishna se tomar. And you can give Krishna. So if one doesn't have bhakti, how can they give bhakti? Bhakti is actually called, that is why it is called Srimad Bhagavatam. Another wonderful point here to Srimad. It is called Srimad Bhagavatam. Why? Shri means Lakshmi. Shri means opulence. And what kind of opulence? Mad. That kind of opulence. Mad means to get intoxicated in the love of Shri, of the gopis of the Vraj. That kind of Bhagavat. Srimad Bhagavatam. There are many different meanings, but this is the one who possesses the highest opulence is the Vrajvasis. Because they possess Sri Krishna Nandanandan. And Nandanandan's expansions are all those Narayanas and Vishnus. And Radharani's expansions are the Lakshmis in the Vaikuntha Loka. So Janmadi Yasya. So Radharani also is the source of all the Lakshmis. Janmadi Yasya. How much I can keep on going and going and going just on the very first two lines, on the very first two words. So this is the importance. I hope the devotees got a chance to get a little glimpse based on Bhaktivinoda Thakur's bhajan and the different manifestations and the thoughts and the reflections that we have shared with you today. So I will stop here now, and then we will continue the first verse next time again as more reflections and more thoughts come in. Like I said, we are not in a rush. We are not trying to complete all 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam in like 2 years or 3 years. I'm not going to issue any certificates to anyone. Our own certificate, Krishna will issue, Radharani will issue with that Bhav Bhakti in us, because that is why we will serve Srimad Bhagavatam. So, Hare Krishna, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, Haribol. Anup Prabhu, I will now turn over the microphone to you, and please do the needful. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very much. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha. First of all, I would like to say, like, it's very sad to learn that the Nandapran Prabhuji's sister departed us due to COVID. And today's session we are dedicating to her. Let's pray for her. May her soul rest in peace.
So let us, once again, if I may, Anup Prabhu, let us all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra 4 times.
Yeah,
loudly,
that will be good. Yeah.
And then you can continue with your other announcements. So yes. I request all of you to chant Hare, and we again, like I said, we dedicated this Srimad Bhagavatam today's session to Mrs. Sangeeta Poddar ji, the sister of our very dear devotee friend Dr. Nandpran Prabhuji. So Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare
Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare,
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Ram,
Rama Rama, Hare
Hare.
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Hare Hare. Thank you, devotees. Thank you so much. A lot, I believe, to Nandpran Prabhu and also to me. Any jiva that is left, again, Krishna knows what is best for them, and our prayers and our dedication, our whatever, like I said, Paramatma is there in everybody's heart, and this Paramatma can convey our message, our prayers, our dedication for the benefit of that jiva. So thank you again. Hare Krishna. Yes, Anup Prabhu, please continue.
Thank you very much. So, as you said correctly, we are not free from janma, mrityu, old age, and the roga, and also three types of miseries. We all surely die one day, but how we die is important. At the time of death, if we can recollect Krishna and surrender ourselves before him, then we can definitely go join him with the spiritual world at the Golok Dham. Uh, Today we listened about the Canto 1, verse 1.1. So in the Canto 1 is basically the foundation of Srimad Bhagavatam, starting with the philosophy of devotion. Devotion, the word devotion is very important here. It gives the insight into the inspiration to Vyasdev to write the Srimad Bhagavatam based on the conversation with Narad Muni. So this verse 1.1.1 is basically what we learned today is on the creation, destruction, expansion of and avatars of Sri Krishna, and five different types of rasas or relationship. So basically everything is due to Krishna. He is the owner, and he is the creator. He is the destructor. Like when Narad Muni
Haribol, I think Anuprabhu, your screen froze.
I think Prabhuji, maybe Anupji is internet connection
Okay.
is off now.
Let us wait for a few minutes, a
Yes,
few
sir.
seconds, and see if he can. Here he is.
Yeah, I think.
Anuprabhu.
Okay, so my internet connection is unstable. So basically, what I was trying to say, like the creation and different avatars of Krishna, also the different types of relationship, five different types of rasas, and destruction. Everything is uh, um, due to Krishna's will. So that is kind of the essence I got from today's topic. If I am wrong, you can correct me. And now let's open the forum for question answers. If anybody has any question, they can put to Prabhuji. Thank you very much, everybody, all the bhaktas for joining us. Jai Jagannath, Jai Sri Krishna. Good evening.
Thank you, Anuprabhu. Thank you so much. Yes, you have grasped today's essence very nicely, and I'm very happy to hear what you just said. Yes. Also, I forgot to mention that actually this Mangalacharan or Srimad Bhagavatam is of the first verse. Actually, I read that it is the true commentary of the Gayatri Mantra, the first Gayatri, which is the Om Bhur Bhuvasva. So that is something that is a very complicated subject. Some other day it can be a subject by itself. So I just wanted to kind of mention that the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is actually analogous to the understanding of the Om Bhur Bhuvasva Gayatri Mantra. So yes, so please, like Anuprabhu said, you one at a time, please, so that we do not go ahead and unmute yourself, ask a question, maybe make a comment or anything that you would like to contribute. You are more than welcome to do that. Bhaktivedanta group is meant for this. Bhaktivedanta Bhagavad group is so that we can all share pure bhakti with each other and encourage each other. Hare Krishna. Go ahead. Nandpran Prabhu.
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. First of all, I shall remain indebted to all the Bhaktivedanta group for dedicating this lecture to my departed sister Prabhu. Very much. Thank you very much. Regarding the Brahma Samhita slok which you requested me, Yashek Nishwasit Kalvatavalambe Jivanti Lo Milja Jagatandanata Vishnu Manasaiye Yasya Kala Vishesha Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajan.
Haribo. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Yes, thank you. That was the slok that I was looking for. Nandpran Prabhu is very scholarly. Maybe one day you should give class, Prabhuji, on Bhagavad. Haribol. Thank you again. Yes. Anybody? Any questions on what we discussed today? It would be nice to discuss something what we heard today, or any clarifications in that regards. Feel free. Don't feel shy. I will start calling out names otherwise. Hari Prabhu, come on. Your turn now.
Oh,
Your
oh,
reflections.
what should I say? I don't even what. It was so amazing. You were explaining it so amazing. We have learned, you know, uh, authority on Vedanta. I feel really very fortunate to listen to and speak uh, uh, Bhagavad, so that we can get everything clarified. So I think the devotees will take the opportunity to ask Satchidananda Prabhuji, you have got ample opportunity to get anything clarified. So mm, uh, I don't have any questions because what you are explaining today is all self-explanatory, and it's, it's not easy to grasp everything, like to remember everything, but it's there's total clarity on whatever you said. That is the essence of everything. It's like I didn't read Bhagavad in its entirety, never. But I see that that's the totality of knowledge. If you know that, know Bhagavad, then you are done. I'm really fortunate, and all the devotees who are attending this session should feel fortunate to be here, so that they can get everything clarified from Prabhu Satchidananda Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna to all.
Hari Prabhu, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the acharyas. I'm just a very, very small instrument. I appreciate the kind comments that you made. Anybody else would like to? The essence of this is basically that Krishna is the source of everything. We can go on days and days and days and months and months and months. At the end of the day, the conclusion is Janmadiyasya. Krishna, you are the source of everything. We've just to be convinced. I see you, Falgun Prabhu from Ahmedabad. Falgun Prabhu, would you like to?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhu Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Jai Gurudev.
Prabhuji, it's amazing lecture. I'm so blessed that I could attend this lecture, and it's wonderful. Whatever you spoke, Prabhuji, it's awesome. It's pretty good. But one of the thing came in my mind. Let's say for the worship in the ISKCON, I noticed that few acharyas are not allowing to worship the deities in the home.
I would like to make one correction before you say something. There is only one acharya in ISKCON, that's Srila Prabhupada. There's only one acharya.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so the rest of them can be initiating gurus, but acharya is only Srila Prabhupada. I have to stop you here so that
that's
don't make
Prabhuji.
Yes.
That's fine, Prabhu. Thank you very much to correct me.
Yes.
So yeah, some few of the gurus like they are not allowing to worship deities in the home, right? They suggested that put the in your altar, put the pictures or it's any form, right? But so that question came in my mind whenever you spoke, and I wrote it down. So I would be greatly appreciated if you guide.
Good question. So your question is that some gurus do not give permission to their disciples to worship deities, but rather they should worship a photograph. Correct? Have I understood
Exactly.
your
Yeah.
question correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct,
Why is
Prabhu.
that
Thank
so?
you very much.
Okay. So there are some good reasons for that, based on my understanding. Uh, deities means you have, it's like a real person. You have to treat in that sense, and especially if they're pran pratisthit. For example, whenever there's a deity that is established deity, or when you do the abhishek and when the deities in the temple or at home,
Mhm.
when you're following the proper process, you're actually inviting Sri Krishna to come and stay in that deity. And then when the guru sees that the disciples are not so steady or steadfast or qualified enough to keep them, then the disciples will commit hari aparad. They will commit an offense, Bhagavata Purana. And that is the reason why they discourage that. Uh, I've seen that even in other sampradayas. Like, I know my grandmother was in the Pushti sampradaya, and they did not have any deities there either. Most of the Pushti sampradayas, they have Chitra Seva. They do Chitrapat Seva. The Because the
Okay.
seva in the deities, actually the standards are very, very high, uh, extremely. It is like you have a little child in your house, or somebody that is a real person, and if you don't feed that person, or you don't take care of it, or don't bathe him, or don't take all the needs of that person, then there is neglect there. Like even here in the Western countries,
Yeah.
you're from Calgary, I'm sorry, Edmonton. You know the laws in Canada, how they are, or in North America, the child abuse. If you don't feed the
Yeah.
child, or if the neighbor finds
Yeah.
out, I'm just giving a very simple example. They can you cannot even
Please
beat
came.
your children here, right? Because otherwise you can get arrested. So
Yeah.
due to child abuse. So the thing is that if we are not ready, we should not be. We should not, and it's okay to have chitra seva. It's not a big deal. The bhav is the most important thing. When you have your bhav, even with the chitra seva, Krishna can accept your seva. So mainly it's because certain times gurus feel that one devotee may not be qualified enough to take care of the deity seva, because that requires high standards. So
Mhm.
that is the reason. And then some of them, they have deities and they're not taking good care. They must have seen them. Like
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
that's the reason why they don't give the permission. So rather than commit offenses, not to. That's the point.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you my personal example. My grandmother, when she was about to leave, many times she said discussion that I told my grandmother, she used to lament that nobody is will be able to do the seva. Nobody wanted to take her seva, because her seva was of such exquisite or
Okay.
high quality and high level that anybody in the house, they were scared. My mother,
Oh.
she was survived by 5 daughters, and in the house that she lived, her son lived, my mama lived. My mommy was her assistant in
Mhm.
many ways, and she knew, learning right from the time she got married till my grandmother, who left at probably in her 90s. But she also did not want to take the seva,
Okay.
and then finally she gave that seva to
Okay.
Gokul, back in Gokul, in the temple, what we
Wow.
call Padrava,
Okay.
Padramni Kari in Gujarati. So the Lord is then,
Padamani.
given to
Yeah.
the temple, because then, offenses will not be. Nobody wanted to, because her standard was so high. She used to do 8 hours, 9 hours of seva, start from morning 5 a.m. to about 2 p.m., to 2:30 p.m. every day. And every day she was making so many different items. Every day she was singing so many different pads, based on the time of the day, based on the ritu, on the climate, based for the suk of the Thakurji, changing 4 dresses, within that span, right from the time from the
Oh.
Mangalarti, different dress, then after then Gwal, different dress, Shringar, different dress, Rajbhog, different dress, changing the dress even during Rajbhog,
Wow.
when she was offering her bhoga at about 12:30 or 1 p.m. And then after putting her to rest, at that time, change of different dress. So all these things are as one grows, because ado shraddha, tato sadhu sangha, that brings bhajana kriya. After that, bhajana kriya, anartha nivritti. That we are still in that stage of anartha nivritti. We have got so many anarthas, unbelievable
Yeah.
misgivings. Our heart is so impure. After anartha nivritti,
Right.
the real bhakti starts with ruchi, with nishtha, ruchi, asakti, bhav, Krishna prem. And even within Krishna prem, there are different delineations. So there's nothing wrong. Guru doesn't want you to do it, don't do it. It's okay. But if your bhav is there, don't worry about it. I'm not talking about you in particular, whoever. If their guru says that, just do chitra seva or the photograph seva, so be it. Nothing wrong with that. Right?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
I hope I have been able to answer your question, Falgun Das Prabhu.
No, perfect, Prabhu. Perfect.
Yeah, Falgun,
thank you very much.
I'm going to what Satchidananda Prabhuji said is completely okay. It's good. And moreover, if you have Narayan Murti, like the deities of Narayan, like Krishna, Vishnu, or Narayan, Krishna, Vishnu, you have to offer Anna Prasadam every day, which is a must. So that is why, which is not easy.
Harihan Prabhu, speak into your microphone, please. You're speaking on the side. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead and repeat yourself.
Yeah, okay. What Satchidananda Prabhu just said is perfectly the answer. And I'll add something a little bit more. Okay, that if you have Krishna, like Narayan in the form of Narayan, Vishnu, or even Krishna, deities of Krishna, you have to offer Anna Bhog, like cook rice prasad every day. So which is not easy in India, because to offer Anna Prasad, it's a little bit hard. You can offer dry prasadam is very easy, but Anna Prasadam is like you have to have proper seva of everything, like all dresses. And one thing is a must is you have to offer Anna Prasadam every day if you have Krishna, Balakrishna or Krishna or Vishnu deities. And moreover, if you cannot have, if you cannot keep murtis more than 6 feet tall uninstalled, you have to have pratishthit murti if you want to keep any deity murti of more than 6 feet tall. So that's why I think in Odisha they are going to make a rule that you cannot have deities more than 6 feet tall at home. So that's why, that is the origin. The main essence is what Satchidananda said. You should be able to do all this seva, like having dresses and all kinds of prasad at all time. And in case you have Krishna Murti, you have to offer Anna Prasadam every day, which is difficult. Otherwise, you have aparadh. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Harihan Prabhu. It may be so. Also, I know in Pustimar, there is bhoga, they offer misri and jhari. Like, some of them in their beginning stages, if they don't have time, then they offer some dry bhoga, and also jhari. Jhariji means water. So that is also accepted. That all depends on time, place, and circumstances, what the Guru says. Like Prabhupada, at that time when he came here, for example, I still remember reading in the Lilamrit or hearing somewhere, and when Prabhupada went to San Francisco and they established the Jagannath temple there, they didn't have even ghee. They were offering candles in the beginning for doing arti. So again, it depends. According to time, place, and circumstance, the Acharya will instruct. And it is the bhav. So when Prabhupada requests, my dear Jagannath, they don't have enough paraphernalia, please accept the candle. Jagannath will accept it because the Acharya has requested that. So similarly, we have to take that into consideration, what the time, place, and circumstances. So even if, to bring that point about Harihan Prabhu, Annabhogya, generally what you are saying is 100% true. But if under circumstances, if it is not possible, and if the Acharya kind of bends the rules, because Krishna is Bhakta Vashya. Krishna is under the control of his pure devotee. So the devotee also listens to the Acharya. Okay. So the thing is, we should not do anything whimsically. That's the bottom line. So I think Vallabhacharya and Gosaiji had already ordered that they can do. Those who want to do seva at home, they do Chitrapat seva, they offer jhari. That's the minimum you should do, and offer some Bal Bhog Misri. So that is also accepted. Of course, Srinathji is Krishna himself, Nandan. So sometimes that, so again, rules and regulations are there, but again, never do them whimsically by our own thinking. Always take the guidance of senior Vaishnavas or gurus, and then do it. Lest we make a mistake and we kind of, commit offenses. That is the essence. of this conversation, or the question or the answer. Haribol. Thank you. Anybody
Perfect.
else?
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Or maybe Nandpran Prabhu, you want to add something to this, to point that was under discussion. Can you hear us, Nandpran Prabhuji?
I think he needs to be unmuted. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't have anything to add to this, Prabhuji. Whatever you have said is perfectly said, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else? Any other questions or any other comments?
Hi, JJ Goklesh, Hare Krishna. This is Pankit here.
Yes, Pankit, JJ Goklesh.
Yeah. So as this Tuesday is the Radhashtami, so I would just like to ask or check, is it possible we can have 1 hour session or have any nice stories of Radha or something like that, like we did for Janmashtami? So are we planning for anything like that or how it
I
is?
have not planned for anything like that. I don't feel so qualified to speak on Radhaji. But
Okay.
if devotees want, we can do something for an hour. We can,
Yeah.
maybe I can take one nice pad or
Or any
bhajan.
Radha Krishna prasang or anything related to Radharani.
Yeah, okay, we can do it on Tuesday. What time? Let's take a vote. What time is good for everyone? Try to keep it a little late because it might be a working day for others, and I want to accommodate as many devotees as possible. Is 6:30 good? Hariyar Prabhu? I'm going to start calling out names.
Yeah, you can keep it maybe how about 7, because maybe people.
Okay, 7 is fine with me. I'm okay. What about Nandpran Prabhuji? 7 means it will be, I'm trying to calculate, 2.5 hours behind in India.
4:30.
Huh?
4:30.
4:30. Huh.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that, Prabhu?
Yeah, I don't have any problem, Prabhu.
Okay.
Timing is
Hare Krishna. Okay, Krish, 7 on, and then what about Anup Prabhu?
I'm okay. We can make it crisp and short.
Huh?
We can make it short and
Yeah.
crisp.
Yeah. We can have a short session of 1 hour or something.
Yeah.
And just take some essence of it.
Okay. So, what about where is our Asim Prabhu?
Yeah, Prabhuji.
7 p.m. is good?
7 a.m. is perfectly fine. 7 p.m.
Okay. And then we have some other devotees here. Falgun Prabhu, will you think you'll be attending? It will be again 4:30 a.m.
No, Prabhu. I'm in Edmonton, so it would be 5. So I'm good.
Oh, you're in Edmonton right now.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. You're back here. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's
So
perfect, Prabhu. Yeah.
you are
Here
what,
would
2
be 5.
hours,
Yeah.
2 hours behind us, right?
Yeah. So it's 5.
Yeah.
5
So
p.m.
5
here.
p.m. your time. Okay. Gopal Prabhu, Gopal Joshi ji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hari Bol, Gopal Joshi ji.
Hari Bol. Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you,
And
Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji, for doing that additional session. Yes, and 7 p.m. is absolutely fine.
Nice. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ansuya Ben, I see you there. Radhe Radhe.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So અમારે કેટલા વાગ્યા હશે?
તમારે 6 વાગ્યા હશે.
Very good. ચલો સરસ. Thank you.
Okay. મંગળવાર. Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I see one Raman. Is that Raman Prabhu and our Patel? Hari Bol. Who is Ramanji? Can you unmute Raman, please?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hari Bol, Mata.
બસ આજે અવાજ બરાબર આવતો છે.
Okay, good. 7 p.m. Tuesday, Radha Ashtami.
Okay.
એટલે આપડા 7 વાગ્યાનો time, okay?
Okay. That's good.
Okay, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna. Thank you.
Okay, so if anybody else, we'll conclude now. And thank you very much, all of you. Let us meet on Radha Ashtami day. Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. Radha Rani ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
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 Hare Krishna.